By the way, numerous links exist in the link tree that's in my bio. It's now officially known as the link jungle or the link forest. But you can find resources. That's part of what we do here. We try to connect the dots, so to speak. Speaking of that, I was really honored to be part of a panel late night last night with Santana and Erica Shante and a bunch of other amazing creators talking about male toxicity, toxic masculinity, the fragility of men. It was just a great conversation. I want to thank Santana. He's probably not up because it's early for him. It was late for me. But it was just a great opportunity, and I was honored to be part of that. So hopefully there's going to be doing more of those. I believe he's doing a series, including tonight and tomorrow night as well. So it was great to be there. So thank you, brother, for that. Okay. It is government shutdown day. There's a lot to kind of... There's really a lot to unpack here because it's political posturing. And like I said to you guys before, there was a missed opportunity, I think, from the Democrats early on about trying to brand this as what it actually is. It's the Trump MAGA Republican government shutdown over healthcare. That's what this thing is about. It comes down to the Republicans want to kick people off of their healthcare and or jack the prices up. Now, what the Democrats have proposed to counter is let's continue to extend the ACA tax credit for Obamacare so that people don't get kicked off insurance. And so we don't all see premiums rise to the tune of $15,000 a year in some cases. We'll do the breakdown for you in just a moment. And to peel back the cuts that they've made to Medicare, Medicaid in general, which is going to affect, other government programs, SNAP benefits, things like that. So what you're going to hear this morning, as we kind of talk through this, you're going to hear the political gamesmanship. The issue right now, though, is that the Republicans are stuck because they know that it's not popular. They can't run away from this, obviously, because I think there's just a lot of distrust that's been gained, even from their own voters. Their own voters about how disappointed they are about how these two have handled the Epstein list, about how this guy is leaking war plans, how about this guy is just a bumbling fool, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can pick your poison, but they're all worthless and weak. They don't know how to govern. This is what happens when you're incapable of governing and you expect to run everything on fear and you expect the same, rhetoric, messaging just to kind of resonate continually with nothing behind it. When you can't legislate, when you can't create policies that help the American people, this is what you're left with. So there's some reporting now about some of the polling. I want to pull this up for you because I think it's really interesting. Normally, well, let me do this. This is kind of interesting. This is the president sort of telling on himself a little bit. He was very critical of the way governments operated before he became the president. So this was an interview back in 2013, and it's a kind of a compilation of things. This is what the president had to say about who's responsible for government shutdowns.
Question, Donald, we're having a hell of a time trying to negotiate here in Washington. So tell me, if you were president, what would you do?
Well, very simply, you have to get everybody in a room. You have to be a leader. The president has to lead. Here, the Democrats are going to be blamed and the Republicans are going to be blamed. I actually think the president would be blamed. If there is a shutdown, I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the president of the United States. He's the one that has to get people together.
They're not going to be talking who the head of the House was, the head of the Senate, who's running things in Washington. So I really think the pressure is on the president.
Interesting. That's pretty wild, right? So the pressure is on the president. I guess I would agree since you're the boss, right? Doesn't the buck stop with you? I kind of thought that was the case. Maybe I could be wrong about that, but I guess we'll find out because over the course of the day, because at midnight tonight, the government does shut down. There was some negotiations yesterday, and then everybody kind of drew their line in the sand. Democrats sticking to messaging that Republicans are going to shut down the government, right? The Republicans are going to shut down the government over healthcare. That's what this is about. Over healthcare, over SNAP benefits, over WIC programs, over rural hospitals, over cancer research, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the right's going to say, that's not true. Well, because we're going to unpack the whole rural hospital fund because I think this is one of the biggest, most dangerous lies that's been told because it sounds good. Thank you, Swishy Raiders. Thank you, guys. Hearts in the chat for Swishy Raiders, please. Hearts in the chat. That needs to be a t-shirt. Has anybody done that? We need to do a hearts in the chat T-shirt. By the way, the banana hammock shirt available in the merch store. So, like, because this whole rural hospital funding program, they positioned it as like we are investing in rural hospitals. It's just not the case. It's just tokenizing. By the way, the majority of those rural hospitals that are going to be impacted by these budget cuts, guess where they reside? Yeah, you can fill in the blanks. So we're going to break all that down today. Obviously, there's the meeting between all the military brass, including the president. You know, we're going to be watching whether or not Mike Johnson is going to be swearing in duly elected Representative Grijalva from Arizona. Don't understand why that's happening other than political gamesmanship, attempting to try to put more pressure on members of Congress, Republican members of Congress, those in particular that signed the Epstein list, the discharge petition. I want people to understand what this does. This signature just means that it can move forward to a floor vote. It's a big deal, right? Because it shows transparency. Those people that are invested in this, and then what happens in the Senate, we don't know. You know, I was thinking about this. I'll just my opinion alone. Maybe you cut a deal with Senate Republicans and say, tell you what, we'll agree to what your programs are, but we're gonna vote on this concurrently. We'll agree. The first vote, though, will be 60 senators demanding, actually 70 senators demanding release of the Epstein files, signing on to the House bill. I doubt that's going to happen, and I know the impact, but that is something that America can agree on. We all want that information. So you want to talk about political gamesmanship? Maybe you throw that little balloon up in the air to say, all right, fine, you want our support? We'll support you. But when the discharge petition gets voted on in the House and leaves the House, you need to make sure it gets signed into law or passed in the Senate, and then let the president have to deal with a veto. We'll see. I don't know. Trade insurance for the list. I don't know. I agree. I'm not there. I'm like I said, it's just an idea. I don't want to trade health insurance or anything. You guys know how I feel about that. I'm just thinking that that's political gamesmanship. Put them on the spot. Tell them, sure, we're willing to negotiate more on your terms, and I go public with it. But they won't. Anyway, okay. So let's talk about some of the polling, because I think the polling is really, really interesting. In generally speaking, the party that's in charge would take a bit of a hit. So as it sits right now, this is from Newsweek did a poll. So 32% of the respondents say that they would blame Trump. 27% said they'd blame Republicans in Congress. So what's that? 59%. So 60% of Americans blame the Republicans, either the Republicans in Congress or the president, compared to 34% who blame the Democrats. Washington Post analysis found something similar. 32% for Trump, 31% for Republican members of Congress, and 30% for Democrats. So it's either the president or Republicans in Congress. Those two groups together comprise the majority of angst by the American public, saying if the government shuts down, it's on Republicans. And I think the Republicans understand that. I think they know it, which is kind of why they're trying to cut their way through it. I guess we'll see. I guess I have a request. Blame Russ Vought. It's a fair person to blame. How are you today?
Hi, good morning. And it's my first time watching you live in the morning, so it's a pleasure. I had a question for you, generally speaking. Why do you think the release of the list would make any impression or any grounds for impeachment of removal? In my opinion, I don't think it will, even across the voter base. Like, using the healthcare ACA as leverage, I think won't really get Democrats like any more wins. I think we're expected to have a recession in December, and the country, unfortunately, will feel the financial pain of what's to come, and it's unfortunate, but I don't think releasing. I think we have more pending issues. I do think the list is a concern, obviously, but I don't think anything will come from it. What's your perspective?
I don't. Was there a question in there? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I caught the question.
If the list is released, do you think realistically it would be grounds for impeachment and removal?
I think Republicans in Congress are too cowardice. So when the list becomes public one way or another, whether it be through the oversight committee, more information there, or through this discharge petition, or through sworn statements from some survivors, I think the Republicans in Congress are too cowardice. I will say this, though. The court of public opinion is important in politics. So if it is proven, without a reasonable doubt, that the information that is being hidden by Republicans and the Trump administration comes public, and it shows how deep the connection is to numerous people, not just Trump, I think that's going to change the landscape in our country significantly. Take that with what you will. I think to answer your question, I think Republicans in Congress are too cowardice to stand up to Trump.
How long do you think if the list came out and we see ABC people, would action be taken? I mean, do you even think it would be within like a year or 2 years in the case that we do have people from the left and the right that are united on this?
Well, what kind of action are you talking about?
So I'm thinking if it gets to his desk, he's going to say, no, I want to protect the privacy of the people in the files. So therefore I won't, I'll choose not to sign. I think that's my understanding, is that he has to make the final sign off, right? In order to release the files after the Senate.
Correct. If it passes the Senate, he'd have to sign it into law and or veto it.
Yeah, so I'm imagining that.
Wouldn't that be telling? Yeah,
but I don't think that's enough, man. Like, at least, I don't know. I don't think it's enough because
enough for what? I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time tracking. Enough for what?
Enough to drive political change in the mind of people that are currently in this like delusion world of like he can get away with anything, which he kind of.
Well, again, the numbers are reporting around 40% of MAGA Republicans have said that even if he's incriminated, and it's beyond a reasonable doubt that he's connected to the crimes against kids, they would still support him. But that leaves 60% of others, and a big chunk of that voter base. Don't forget, the number one voting bloc are independents, and a lot of independents voted for Trump. They over-index voting for Democrats. But we're not talking big margins here. He'd like to say he won by a landslide, but he didn't. He won by like 1 million votes, so 1.5 million votes, something like that. So it doesn't take a lot. I believe that there'll be pressure from his own cabinet to initiate articles of the 25th Amendment. I think those kinds of things are very possible, very possible. Whether or not it's an impeachment, I'm not sure. But I think the cabinet could certainly do something because the cabinet are not elected officials, where members of Congress are.
Yeah, I guess apologize for coming in here seeming pessimistic about this, but there's so many things that this administration's pretty much like, been on the top of and kind of convinced people is like the norm, that it's kind of fading away to me, the idea of that like public protests will happen and like will drive actual change given new news comes out. But I'm just worried about.
Don't be pessimistic.
Like financial, well-being. Like
I get it. I mean, we all are, but don't be pessimistic. I mean, that's the whole point. Pessimism leads to apathy. Apathy is where democracies go to die.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate that messaging, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Appreciate it.
You too. Thanks. See you later. I think public protests will happen as well. I would agree with that. It was a request. I guess he must have left. Okay. All right. So back to the polling. 70% of Americans agree with the sentiment that it's never good to shut down the federal government. So if it's 70% of Americans and then 69% of a similar poll say that the responsibility falls clearly or squarely with Republicans and the president, that's not good. Okay? That's not, they're not in a good position. I think they figured that they could use this to say, because again, they need Democratic votes in the Senate to make it happen. They need 7, right? I guess we'll see. The Republicans were probably thinking that, okay, we'll position this like we always do. We'll blame somebody for our own fuck up. Our voters are too stupid to realize it. But now people are like, wait a second here. The president told us that if the buck stops with him, so to speak. You guys are in charge. You're the ones that are in control of both houses of Congress, the courts, the presidency, etc. You told us you were going to enact change. You told us that our country should be led by you, that this is the proper choice for the middle class Americans and the working poor, so to speak. And yet here you are going to kick people off healthcare. Because that's what this kind of comes down to. So that's sort of what this comes down to. So the Democratic base is persuadable if they can get what they want, which is the Democrats in the Senate and the House are saying, look, well, let me give you the summary. I want people to understand what we're talking about here. And there's so many layers to this. I'm going to do my best to kind of navigate through what Medicaid expansion is and the impact on rural hospitals and the lie that you've been told there. Okay, so this is what the Democrats want, all right? The Republicans wanted a short-term extension through November 21st. Democrats said, we'll go to October 31st, so just a few weeks earlier. Their version permanently extends the Affordable Care Act tax credit, reverses rollbacks on recent Medicaid cuts, and restores funding that was cut under the 2025 Rescissions Act. That's it. That's it. MAGA Republicans and Donald Trump are going to shut down the government because they don't want you to have health care. That's the whole fucking story. That's what this comes down to. So then you get posturing. You get Mike Johnson, who's scrambling because he knows he's in a tough spot.
Our counterproposal, what Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are demanding is that they claw back the $50 billion that we put into the rural hospital support structure. They want to take that back. We're not going to do that. We passed that because we have to allow for that. Also, if they shut the government down, not only are troops unpaid, federal workers, and all the services that everybody relies upon.
Not entirely true.
The WIC program, the nutrition program, women, infant, and children, they will not get that program, will not be funded. FEMA won't be funded. We have hurricanes off the coast of the United States right now. This is serious business. You have telehealth, you have mental health services, all that's funded by the government would stop if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats have their way. The Democrat shutdown would be damaging for the country.
Good try. Good try. So let's talk about the let's talk about some of the the protection for federal workers, as Mike Johnson wants you to believe. The Office of OMB tells agencies to draft mass firing plans ahead of potential shutdown. What this is Russ Vought, one of the authors of Project 2025, who's always talked about consolidating government and cutting positions within the federal government. This is what will happen. Okay, this is what they are using as leverage. The Republicans are saying, you either give us what we want, we can kick millions of Americans off healthcare, stop funding for SNAP programs, stop funding for Medicare and Medicaid, and allow rural hospitals to close, because I'm going to dunk on that bullshit in just a moment. And if you don't do those things, we are going to permanently fire federal workers. Yeah, you heard that right. Yep. Okay, so this is the statement that they've made. If OMB determines that an agency's budget must be cut, the agency, not OMB, directly issues the reduction in force notices. What's being reported? The OMB has issued a memo instructing agencies. This is from AP. The OMB has issued a memo instructing agencies to draft reduction in force, or a RIF, plans. For example, permanent layoffs for programs whose funding would lapse in a shutdown that are not consistent with the president's priorities. Permanent layoffs, not furloughs, permanent layoffs. Again, they'd issued a memo instructing agencies to draft reduction in force plans. For example, permanent layoffs for programs whose funding would lapse in a shutdown that are not consistent with the president's priorities. So what they're saying is, healthcare for millions of Americans, funding for cancer research, SNAP benefit programs, et cetera, are not in the president's priorities. The memo suggests that RIF notices could be issued even to employees currently expected to be furloughed under a shutdown, not just those already exempted. The administration's plan envisions that if appropriations are not reinstated, some layoffs would take effect after a certain period of time, for example, 60 days. After funding is restored, agencies would be expected to revise their RIF plans and possibly retain only the minimum number of employees needed to carry out statutory, legally required functions. So in short, OMB is signaling that this time they're considering something more than temporary furloughs. They want agencies ready to permanently cut positions, which they're going to do anyway. Okay? They're going to do that anyway. They're going to cut positions anyway. They're just going to say, well, unless we get what we want, all these federal employees that, by the way, these people employ because they are the federal government. So Donald Trump and his administration will be taking people's jobs, cutting positions, not furloughing them. Furlough them would allow them to get back pay. But nope, we're not going to do that. Not going to do that. So they're going to do it anyway. So again, I know this is impactful. In fact, it directly impacts a member of our little family about the government shutting down. I don't see what choice we have at this point because they're going to be cutting people's jobs anyway. They're going to be taking funding away anyway. So what choice do you have? Federal employees are protected by laws governing adverse actions, appeals, and due process. RIFs must follow certain legal procedures for notice periods, competitive levels, bumping rights. Depending on classification and tenure, a memo from OMB doesn't automatically override these laws. That's true. If Congress acts before the deadline, the shutdown may never materialize, and thus the permanent cuts would be triggered or might be reversed. OMB appears to be using the threat in part as leverage in negotiations. Going to threaten people's jobs so that they can cut people's health care. Think about that for a second. I never thought about it that way. They're threatening people's jobs, federal workers, tens of thousands of federal workers. They're threatening people's jobs over cutting people's health care. What? Cutting positions during a shutdown while simultaneously managing ongoing essential services and legal obligations is logistically very difficult. The administration would have to decide which programs and employees are truly non-essential, how to handle expected employees, and comply with appeals and internal reviews. Some analysts believe the memo implies a dual path of furloughs and potential mass layoffs rather than an immediate full-scale purge, as reported by PBS. Also, agencies traditionally plan for temporary furloughs, not permanent elimination of jobs. So this represents a departure and might face resistance and or legal challenges. There are serious threats. Serious threats. Again, the Trump shutdown plan is to threaten people's jobs, okay, so they can cut health care. So what alternative do we have? What alternative? We're in this position now where the clock strikes midnight. He doesn't need to worry about turning orange because he's already a pumpkin. His eyes might bulge out even further. She might need to boil up another cauldron of bat wing and eye of newt, and who knows what the fuck he's doing. But at midnight, I want people to understand what the OMB is saying. The OMB is saying unless we can cut what we wanted to, including trillions of dollars dedicated to health care for millions of Americans, unless we can do that, we're going to fire people, federal workers, thousands of them. He's doing keg stands, right? And is there anybody that would support that? Because am I wrong about that interpretation? If that's what the OMB is saying, the OMB is saying, I'm going to use this as leverage. Unless you do this, unless you cut cancer research, unless you cut Medicaid, Medicare, unless you cut SNAP, unless you cut funding for rural hospitals, and I'm going to explain that in just a minute, we're going to take people's jobs. Okay. So the ACA thing, the Obamacare subsidies, and what we're talking about here is, and I was reading about this, I didn't sleep at all last night. By the way, it's our daughter's 18th birthday today. So this is impactful for me because I carry her on my insurance through the ACA, which requires her to have routine checkups every single year because she's a cancer survivor. Not only that, but we're going to get into the funding that's being cut for cancer research. And I've been very public about this. My daughter is likely alive today because of federal funding to programs at colleges and universities that develop treatment plans and potential cures. So it's fucking real life for me. And I know it's real life for many, many, many other Americans. So I feel you on this one. So If the Affordable Care Act premium tax credits go away, the impact on healthcare costs would be significant, both for individual and for the broader healthcare system. I'll try to break this down for you. Millions of people who currently qualify for subsidies, that's roughly 80 to 90% of the people on the ACA. So 80 to 90% of people enrolled in the ACA get these subsidies, okay, these tax credits. I'm one of them. We would see our monthly premiums rise sharply. For many middle and lower income households, premiums could double or even triple. Families that just barely qualify today would be pushed out of the market. For example, a household earning $50,000 might see annual premium costs rise from $3,000 annually to $14,000 without those subsidies. Many would drop coverage altogether because people wouldn't afford it. I might be in that position myself. I'm trying to figure this shit out. Many people would drop coverage altogether, leading to an increase in the uninsured rate. The Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, has estimated that in past repeal scenarios, eliminating the ACA subsidies could increase the number of uninsured Americans by nearly 15 million. Because the white nationalists in our government are afraid of brown people? Oh, or is it so that they can fund their tax cuts for the billionaires? Or is it so they can prop up the military-industrial complex? Or what else is it? If you want to call me a hack, Average Joe, you might want to spell "your" right. But thanks for playing. Appreciate you. I just saw somebody just said they're a cancer survivor. They're going to have to drop coverage. Again, many would drop coverage altogether, leading to an increase in the uninsured rate. The Congressional Budget Office estimates uninsured could increase by nearly 15 million people. Healthier, lower income enrollees would be the most likely to leave the market if subsidies vanish. That would leave a sicker, more expensive risk pool behind, driving higher premiums for everyone who remains. That's how the process works. That's what a for-profit health insurance company does, preys on the people who are sick. So healthier people, lower income, who can barely afford it now. Look, I've been very critical of the ACA, and I get it. Unfortunately, it's what it is. One of the things that I was critical of Barack Obama about was that I don't think he stood firmly enough on what the original plan for the ACA was, because it was really closer to a Medicare for all scenario. It's close to that now, but not really. But anyway, but he had to relent, had to give in to get something. So we got tens of millions of Americans insured where they wouldn't have had access in the past. Okay, not popular at launch, but it's gained in popularity. And now, like anything else, you don't want something to be taken away from you, especially when it involves healthcare. So again, what the Democrats asked is that this subsidy continue. And the Republicans have said, nope. And unless you agree to our demands, we're going to fire tens of thousands of federal workers. Yeah, that tracks. Without subsidies stabilizing demand, insurers would face higher average costs per enrollee, which would translate into double-digit annual premium hikes in many states. Some insurers might pull out of markets altogether if enrollment collapses, reducing competition and further raising costs in some regions. So, for the free market folk, you want to have options, right? Well, all this does is reduce options. So you've been told to hate the ACA. What you don't realize is the ACA keeps costs down. Far from perfect. Reasons to be critical of it. But it helps keep costs down. More people that are uninsured, especially people who are healthy, right? I'm not getting any younger. I could probably try to go without health insurance. I really don't want to, but I also insure my kids. So there's that complication there. So I'm sure, again, I'm not alone. A lot of people are going to be facing this very decision right now. You fall into that spot like millions of Americans. You make too much money to qualify for Medicare, Medicaid. Out-of-pocket private insurance is just ridiculously expensive. So you have an option, which is the ACA. And 80 to 90% of the subsidies cover the majority of costs. Without those subsidies, people's costs go up exponentially. From $3,000 a year to $15,000 a year? Who the fuck can afford that? Who can afford it? You might as well just have private insurance. And that's why other people are going to just just going to say, that's it. Cancel my coverage altogether. Which means the people that are left in the system are likely going to need more care, which means there's fewer options, which means basic economic supply and demand, cost spike for everyone. So people now are saying, I get my insurance from my employer. What do I need the ACA for? Well, guess what happens to your insurance or your employer? The same fucking thing. Premiums go up there. The federal government would spend less on premium tax credits, but hospitals and state governments would face rising uncompensated care costs as more people go uninsured. This often leads to higher local taxes or hospital fees that get passed back to consumers. Wider economic and social effects. Without affordable coverage, more people would delay care until emergencies, creating higher medical debt burdens and worsening long-term health outcomes. The emergency room is reactive care, not proactive care. Like you wouldn't go for your prostate exam or your colonoscopy, or go to the dermatologist to have them look at your skin to see what's out there. Things that are preventable if you have proactive health care, not reactive. People go to the emergency room because they don't have insurance, which is another reason why our costs are so high, because it has to get paid for somehow. So then when you cut programs like the ACA, you cut programs like Medicare, Medicaid, the burden falls to whom? Falls to us. Number one form of bankruptcy in the United States is medical debt. But that's fine. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see. It's totally fine. We've got gold-plated bullshit in the Oval Office. We've got Qatari jets. We've got crypto schemes. We've got Tom Homan taking $50,000 in cash. We've got massive investments behind closed doors, secret meetings, investing in crypto funds while giving the Qatari the Qatari royal family exclusive access to NVIDIA chips. Nothing to see here, though. Nothing to see. Nothing at all. Rural hospitals, already financially fragile, would face more unpaid care, putting them at a higher risk of closure. Low-income and minority populations who benefited the most from the ACA credits would be hardest hit. Of course they would. Of course they would. If ACA subsidies disappear, individuals will face skyrocketing premiums and reduced coverage. Insurers face destabilized markets, and healthcare costs rise system-wide due to worse risk pools and more uncompensated care. In other words, while the federal government might spend less on subsidies, everyone else pays more through taxpayer higher premiums, higher hospital costs, or higher medical debt. So here's the worst part about it. Well, that's bad enough. Urban Institute's latest microsimulation flags the states where subsidized marketplace enrollment would fall by more than half if enhancements last, where premium shocks, affordability problems are most acute, are Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and West Virginia. What do those states have in common? So, using the 2025 benchmark, data and enrollment patterns, states fall into four buckets States fall into four buckets. Monthly net premium increases for a typical subsidized adult if enhancements lapse. Okay? So these states they've categorized this into four buckets. Very high risk, moderate risk, and lower but meaningful. Okay? So I want you to listen to the states involved. Very high. Expect increases of $300 a month at a minimum. Alaska, West Virginia, Wyoming, Tennessee, Mississippi, South Carolina, Louisiana, Georgia, Texas, and Florida. High benchmarks and or large enrollment shares all at risk. Shocker. High risk, $125 to $250 a month per average adult. North Carolina, Alabama, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arizona, Nevada, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska. Moderate, $75 to $150 per month increases in cost. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts. And then lower increases, but still meaningful, $75 to $150 per month out of pocket. California, Colorado, Minnesota, Washington, Oregon, New York, DC, New Mexico, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Hawaii, Idaho, Utah, Kansas, Arkansas, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Kentucky. By and large, States that are going to be hit the hardest are Republican states. And it's not even close. So these rural hospitals, people forget about that. People think about these rural hospitals people don't equate a rural hospital with necessarily a Republican state. But these states have pushed back about Medicaid expansion, not wanting to offer the ACA credit, because messaging from the top has been the ACA is bad, the ACA is socialism, blah, 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 Obamacare this, Obamacare that, blah, fucking blah. You understand that if that subsidy goes away, whether you liked Obamacare or not, your insurance goes up, and you voted for that shit. It's not rocket science to understand what you voted for. Sorry about that. But that's life. Votes have consequences. Good morning, Johnny. How are you today? Johnny, are you there?
How are you?
Fine. What's on your mind?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Yes.
I just want to join in. Can you hear me?
I can. Yes.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to join in and let you all know that everything you're saying is true. Because I'm one of the early victims of this Medicaid.
Johnny, you keep cutting out, man. You keep cutting out. Johnny, you keep cutting out.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Can you hear me now?
You keep cutting out. Well, I'm going to drop you down. Why don't you just request again and come on back up? So I don't know how to say this, but it's what people don't understand when it comes to the politicking of this whole thing is you can make these bold claims like this $50 billion for rural hospital expansion. We're going to talk about that in just a second. And they want to use things like the Democrats just want to give money to illegals. First of all, undocumented immigrants are not eligible at the federal level for Medicaid. They are at the Medicare level because states do it. States have certain programs that they allow access, but it's only emergent care. They can't be making an appointment to go see a chiropractor or whatever. It's only for emergency room visits. Okay, that's how it works. So it's another lie that they're telling you. In an attempt to try to find money to support the tax cuts. That's what this entire thing's about. Listen, don't let people who claim the big, beautiful piece of shit bill is a benefit to anybody in the middle class, because it's not. It's not even close because of a lot of these other factors. The rich don't have to worry about the ACA. They've got private insurance, or they own their own company, or they work for someone who's got excellent health care. They don't have to worry about that. They don't have to worry about that at all. But it affects millions of us. Millions, tens of millions of us. Not just blue-haired radical leftists, but red hat-wearing conservatives who live in Trump country. So don't think I'm bullshitting you, because I'm not. It's real. Good morning, my friend. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
I just wanted to remind people that, people think that like the ACA costs.
Was that your dog? Was that your dog? And I just heard a growl?
You want to see her?
It was funny.
She
hey there.
Sadie, say hi. Be TikTok famous.
Hello, Sadie.
She doesn't like it when I'm not talking to her.
Of course.
And she really hates MAGA.
Of course. Good dog.
Good dog. She's the democracy dog.
Good girl. Sadie.
So I work in healthcare, as everybody knows, and one of the massive things that changed under the ACA was the hospital readmission reduction program, which means that under certain diagnoses, if a patient is readmitted in a certain amount of time, Medicare won't pay for it anymore. And that saved $2.7 billion between 2010 and 2015. And so, I think that one of the problems is giving people access to health care. It doesn't cost the government money. It actually ends up saving them money. And the CBO put out a report saying that between 2016 and 2035, then it will reduce the net deficit by $1 trillion. $1 trillion.
Yeah.
And so, it's super frustrating for me as a nurse because people come in with things that are so preventable because they don't have access to primary care. And it saddens.
You've seen it. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, Jen, right? People come to ERs because they don't have health insurance. So it becomes a reactive situation more than preventative health care, so to speak, which drives everybody's cost up. Everybody's.
Yes. And my biggest concern with this, is that they're going to close nursing homes, they're going to close dialysis centers, and then we're going to have a situation where people with life-saving dialysis are going to have to come to the emergency room to get their dialysis. It's just a very scary situation that all of us are just kind of crossing our fingers that it doesn't happen in the hospital.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
And as much as the Republicans want to blame the Democrats, and I'm sure MAGA will too, if the government shuts down, it's amazing how many of them are going to complain, and it's their healthcare that we're trying to save.
Correct. Like we always say, we vote for their kids' future. We vote for their healthcare. We vote for their ability to buy a home. We vote for their safety. We vote for their security. We vote for their financial independence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. We are voting. We are demanding health care for everybody, including them.
Right.
I mean, there might be a few that I've spoken to that I don't want to have health care, but by and large, we're voting for them.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyways, love listening to you. I'm here with Sadie. She's chewing on the Trump chew doll, and we just love your spitting facts. You're the best.
Thank you, friend. I appreciate you so very, very much. You have a good day. Okay. Be safe out there.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. She's right. Right. I mean, again, why the fuck are we fighting over this? They're going to tell they're going to go ahead and they're just going to tell lies to you, that's what they do. They're going to choose to tell lies. And I can't help you, MAGA, understanding that. They've told you that the waste, fraud, and abuse in our healthcare system is because illegals get it. No. Nope. Medicaid, Medicare, less than 5% fraud rate, and the majority of that fraud is on the clerical side, not on the receiver side, not on the recipient side. You think like 6 and 7-year-old kids who get free school lunch, you think they're committed? You think they're out? They think they're out negotiating with their EBT cards in the parking lot? Listen, dude, give me 2 EBT cards and I'll clean your room for you. We're talking about healthcare and food and cancer research. Like, kids don't get free lunches. You can shut up. Go ahead, LabGator. I'm curious. I'd like you to talk about that. We can talk about the states that fund free lunches. And I don't know why you guys vote against that. But anyway, okay. I'll get back to the show in just a moment, but every once in a while, we'll take a guest. P Money, are you there? I guess not. You can request again if you want to come back up. Okay, so I also want to get into a little bit about some of the statements that Mike Johnson just recently made regarding the $50 billion in rural hospital funding, because it's a lie. It's not just that it's a lie. It's a manipulation of the truth, much like the funding cuts for SNAP. We went through this exercise. They wanted to say the federal government's not cutting money for SNAP. We're just giving it to the states. Well, the states who are the largest recipients of SNAP-related programs happen to be red states by and large, because those states are what's considered recipient states. So think about this basic math here. Red states take more from the feds than they give. Blue states give more to the feds than they take. So the red states, who are already receiving federal funding to support programs that they can't support now unless blue states are helping them flip the bill. So what the Republicans in Congress are trying to say to you is, well, that's fine. The states will just figure it. The states we'll just pass the money on to the states. Those states that can't pay their bills now are going to suddenly come up with money to pay for programs that they've been telling their voters are loaded with waste, fraud, and abuse? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen. So I want to get into the whole rural hospital debate. Let's talk about Medicaid expansion first of all. Medicaid is the joint federal state program that provides health coverage to low-income people. The Affordable Care Act allowed states to expand Medicaid to cover nearly all adults with incomes up to 138% of the federal poverty level, roughly $21,000 for a single person in 2025. First of all, that's crazy. Where could you live in America on 21 grand? Before the ACA, Medicaid eligibility was mostly limited to specific groups: pregnant women, children, some parents, some people with disabilities, and seniors. Expansion opened it up to low-income adults without children. The federal government covers 90% of the cost, between 80 and 90% of the cost of expansion populations, with states paying the other 10%. That's the ACA extension. That's what we're talking about. So the state's then only responsible to pick up the additional 10%. Expansion gives millions of low-income adults health insurance, reducing the uninsured rate in expansion states. Which is, again, the more people that are insured, the lower the costs are for everybody. Okay? With more patients insured, hospitals see fewer uncompensated care. People showing up uninsured, unable to pay. Rural hospitals in expansion states generally have better financial stability compared to those in non-expansion states. Expansion is optional at the state level. The Supreme Court ruled in 2012 that states can decide. As of 2025, most states have expanded, but some Republican-led states like Texas, Tennessee, and several in the South still have not. The new GOP budget reconciliation bill includes large cuts to Medicaid overall. The $50 billion Rural Health Fund is supposed to cushion hospitals from those cuts, but expansion states, often those that are Democratic, have more people on Medicaid, so they face bigger losses in absolute dollars if cuts go through because more people live there. Makes sense. Non-expansion states, often Republican, already have financially fragile hospitals since they never got the benefit of expansion. Even if their direct losses look smaller, their hospitals are at a significantly higher closure risk. So even with this money, even with this $50 billion, it's still about the amount of people who will lose their health care because Medicare pays the bill when somebody who is uninsured or underinsured goes to a hospital for treatment, right? Without that funding, red states can't afford to pay for their rural hospitals now, so the hospitals go under. So it's not a program to prop up hospitals. It's not. And by the way, it's $50 billion, but it's spread out over 10 years. And there's a breakdown here. I think I found this breakdown. Let's see if I can find it. It's a split. It's 25% that goes through a, hold on, is this it? This might be it. Because it's not as easy as they want you to believe, because it has to do with requirements. So it's not like this money is going to be guaranteed, and it's not like it's $50 billion for every state. Okay. Many rural hospitals operate on thin margins and depend on Medicaid reimbursements and uncompensated care funding. With deep cuts to Medicaid, states with many rural hospitals are at heightened risk. Democrats have warned that in states with large Republican majorities or high rural populations, hundreds of rural hospitals could be threatened. That's reported on by the AP. Estimates are that in rural states alone, federal Medicaid cuts could amount to $137 billion over 10 years, and the Rural Health Care Fund is inadequate to fully offset that because the Rural Health Care Fund is only $50 billion over the same amount of time. Analysts note that the Rural Health Fund is unlikely to fully compensate rural providers in many red states given their heavier dependence on Medicaid. That's the point. Because half of the $50 billion is distributed equally among states that apply, red states with many rural hospitals may get no more than their share of the baseline equal allocation, regardless of the need. The other half is then allocated via formulas and qualitative criteria, for example, proposals, state initiatives, etc. States with weaker proposals or less administrative capacity may lose out on that portion. The law also places limits, for example, provider payments from the Rural Fund that cannot exceed 15% of a state's award. That limits how much direct hospital relief can come from the fund. Red states often have tighter budgets. By and large, red states receive more from the federal government than they give. Blue states pay more in than they take, so they're already upside down in their budgets. Red states often have tighter budgets or more volatile revenues, reliance on resources or consumption taxes and federal funding. It will be harder for them to marshal additional state funds to mitigate harm. Some Republican states may resist using state funds to plug gaps, ideological constraints, making hospitals more exposed. Because cuts to Medicaid and provider tax changes are structural, red states may have less flexibility or willingness to absorb the losses. Democratic-led states may litigate or push back against federal rule changes more often. Republican states may align more with federal initiatives and less with objections. This means some red states may swallow cuts more directly without seeking any relief. So think of it this way. There could be, depending on the situation with reproductive health care, you could have a Republican supermajority, and I'm hypothesizing here. You could have a Republican-led majority that even if there are some reasonable rules, reasonable in air quotes, regarding women's reproductive health care, the state legislature could say, you know what, since they perform abortions there, we understand that they are within their rights legally, but we're not going to fund it. That would be an ideological assault. That'd be an ideological assault on healthcare. Okay? So that's what this entire thing is about from my perspective. Unless you align with our ideologies, unless you align with our priorities, unless you agree that we're going to cut healthcare, we're going to fire federal workers. It is diabolical at best. States with stronger health departments, better grant writing capacities, and policy experience may craft more competitive proposals to secure a larger share of the discretionary component of the fund. Again, $50 billion, that's all that's allocated, doesn't come available until next year. $25 billion of that, half, is guaranteed, but you got to go through the process of grant writing, which, by the way, is something I do for work. It's complicated. It's really complicated. States that are more invested in their public health system, and we went through the list, they're primarily blue states, are better at it. So they're going to immediately step up and say, okay, we're going to do this to protect our citizenry, which then means states, red states, who do not prioritize public health, who do not prioritize mental health access, who do not prioritize feeding kids, are going to do what? They already can't pay their bills. They already don't fund public education, public health, mental health resources, community policing, etc. They already don't do any of these things. And now we think they are? This is the first time in history programs like SNAP have been cut like this. First time in history. It's guaranteed food for 40 million families. And the Republicans want to cut it to get tax breaks for the rich and to pay for gold embossed furniture in the Oval Office, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Blue states are often more likely to challenge or litigate federal changes, resist work requirements, and negotiate with federal agencies or implementation. They may also pass state laws or take other actions to restore or supplement health coverage if federal cuts do bite. Democratic states with less rural geography will have fewer hospitals in remote, high-risk settings, reducing the sheer count of vulnerable facilities. But many Democratic states also have rural or semi-rural regions, upstate New York, for example, parts of the Midwest, so they are not immune. again, Democrats fighting the federal government to ensure that everyone, red state, blue state, purple state, swing state, independent voter, Republican voter, non-voter, Democratic voter, far left, radical leftist, far right, extreme MAGA. Democrats are fighting for everybody to have health care. Like the analogy we talk about, there's 100 people standing in front of me as a radical progressive. There's 100 people standing there in front of me. I want to guarantee that every person there has health care, even if one doesn't deserve it. Conservatives, on the other hand, same 100 people will be standing in front of them. They don't want anybody to have health care if one person doesn't deserve it. So it's just an ideological break, right? And I'm going to stand on the side of humanity. I'm going to stand on the side to say, what's more important than feeding kids and health care? And every opportunity Republicans have to try to prop up those programs, they vote against them. The Christians. Yep. Here's a hypothetical. Democratic state with a moderate rural footprint. Baseline funding helps stabilize rural providers in smaller counties. Republican states, heavy rural footprint. Even though rural hospitals are numerous, baseline funding will only cover a fraction of what's needed. So that's the breakdown, right? When you're talking about cutting these programs, what people don't understand is that Medicaid, federal support for programs, allows hospitals to get paid. When they cut those funds, there's no revenue for the hospital. Who's going to pay for it? Another argument for universal health care. It's another argument for universal health care. If we had that, this would not be an issue. And our elected officials could not be using public health and food as leverage, because it's disgusting, quite frankly. Absolutely disgusting. All right, is there any more that I wanted to cover about this? Let me see here. Okay, so these are the states categorized as severe risk. Hospitals, rural hospitals that are under severe threat for closures because of what we just discussed this morning. Alabama, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, West Virginia. Very high shares of rural hospitals in the red and or are vulnerable, many non-expansion or restrictive coverage features, and relatively limited fiscal backfill. High risk, Arkansas, Louisiana, Kentucky, North Carolina, Indiana, Iowa, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Arizona, and Nevada. Substantial rural footprints with many negative margin hospitals. Some are expansion states, Medicare expansion, as we just discussed, but still face large rural Medicaid exposure. Several have modest fiscal room to plug gaps, if any. Moderate risk, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, New York, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, and Nebraska. Meaningful rural service areas, but better mix of expansion status and or stronger administrative capacity to compete for rural funds. Pockets of acute risk. Example, maternity deserts reside in those states, the Southeast, right? And then lower, but not zero risk. States like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, California, Oregon, Washington, Virginia, Maryland, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, DC, Hawaii, and Alaska. More diversified hospital systems, broader coverage and or stronger state capacity, still vulnerable in remote regions, for example, far in Northern California or Washington or rural communities in Alaska, but fewer facilities at immediate closure risk overall. So it's a structural issue that's created by lack of funding on public health to begin with. And now the federal budget will include cuts to programs that help keep those hospitals afloat, even just barely like this, like, oh my God, I'm gonna get my nose up. And now that money goes away. And Republicans are trying to blame Democrats because Democrats said, listen, hospitals in your states are gonna close. We're here to stand up for them. Even though they didn't vote for us, we're here to stand up for everyday Americans. We're here to say that money's got to come back. And sadly, we're going to let the government shut down because you told us that you're going to cut people's jobs anyway. So we're standing up with the American voter. We're going to stand here and say, this has gone too far. Why are you doing this? Diabolical is the word. I agree. Okay, I think I've covered that pretty well. All right. Let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about the executive order that came out last week. The executive order designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. This comes from the White House. The EO describes Antifa as a militarist anarchist enterprise that explicitly calls for the overthrow of the United States government, law enforcement authorities, and our systems of the law. That's right from the EO. I don't know, unless the Antifa headquarters has moved, I don't know where the headquarters is. I don't know who the leader is. I don't know where the meetings are. So then everyone is Antifa. Because if you're not Antifa, you're Profa, which is weird. Right? So if you're not anti-fascist, you're pro-fascist. That's wild. Yeah. We'll get back into that in just a second. I'm going to play this interesting. Let me find this story first. I don't want to lose momentum when it comes to talking about the bullshit regarding Mike Johnson and some of the lies that he's been telling as he's walking on the campaign trail. Actually, let me play this. Rachel Maddow did this breakdown, and I'm gonna talk about it on the other side. I'll take a quick break. I'll be right back. But this is an interesting breakdown because again, this is connected to this particular bill, cutting funding for cancer research.
Cover the latest New York Times magazine. You see, it says there in big bold letters, "The war on cancer," and then on top of those words, a big red stamp that says "canceled." Quote, "How the 50-year campaign to save millions of lives was dismantled in 6 months." Quote, "In the mid-1970s, America's 5-year cancer survival rate sat at 49%. Today, it's 68%. But now an extraordinarily successful scientific research system, one that took decades to build and has saved millions of lives and has generated billions of dollars in profits for American companies and investors, that system is being dismantled before our eyes." Quote, "In a matter of months, the Trump administration has canceled hundreds of millions of dollars in cancer-related research grants and contracts and suspended or delayed payments for hundreds of millions more. It has terminated hundreds of government employees who helped lead the country's cancer research system and who ensured that new discoveries reached clinicians and cancer patients and the American public." President Trump's proposed budget for next year calls for a more than 37% cut to the National Cancer Institute.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll remember when Trump was running for president against Kamala Harris last year, and he said, "Vote for me, I'll get rid of cancer research."
Yep.
"Vote for me, I'm for more cancer." I mean, not what he ran on, right? Not what anybody in their right mind would run on. But nevertheless, it is one of the most shocking facts of this second term of Donald Trump being president that his administration really is engaged in a comprehensive, aggressive, super thorough campaign to permanently destroy cancer research in this country. Not to pause it, not to refocus it, but to stop it. This is the cover of the latest New York Times magazine. You see, it says there in big bold.
So, 37%. Where's the numbers here? I just want to make sure I had that right. Hold on. It's hard for me to talk about, to be honest. The benefits of America's sustained investment in cancer research are born out of striking statistics. In the mid-1970s, America's 5-year cancer survival rate sat at 49%. Today, it's 68%. Every $326 that the government invests in cancer research extends a human life by 1 year. And there are potentially transformative research projects happening all across the country right now, like cancer vaccines and a flash radiation treatment that lasts just a few tenths of a second and causes much less damage to surrounding tissue. All of that comes from federal funding. I have been transparent about this. My daughter's a 2-time cancer survivor. So the fact that it's her 18th birthday today is a big deal in our family. She was given a 50-50 chance to live, the second time it recurred. Because of the uniqueness of her cancer, she had what's called Wilms tumor. It's childhood cancer of the kidney. She got it on the old side. It's usually between 18 and 24 months. She was 5 when she got diagnosed the first time. She got treatment. We got through it. We were a year away from we were a year out from her last round of chemo, thinking clean bill of health. It recurred again. It was much worse. Gave her a 50-50 chance to live. Okay. So the programs that she entered this COG study group, the funding to help develop her treatment plan came from programs like the National Cancer Institute, the NIH. Okay? So I can't sit here and definitively say that if that money wasn't available, she wouldn't be here, but she was given a 50-50 chance to survival based on funding and grants that go into research. So this affects everybody. We've made progress, and we make progress every single day. Every day. And we want to cut funding to programs and colleges and universities because the bulk of the research is done on laboratories on college campuses. Why would we want to do that? That's the question that I keep asking myself. Like, why are we cutting SNAP benefits? Why are we cutting Medicare, Medicaid programs? Why are we cutting ACA subsidies? Why are we reversing bank fee charges that were $5 under the Biden administration to back to upwards of $35? Why are we cutting cancer research? Why are we deregulating the EPA? Why? What is the answer? The answer to me is simple. Obviously, the obvious is to be able to pay for the tax cuts. But Christian nationalists want to harm individuals because if a brown-skinned person, if a queer person, if an immigrant, someone disabled, someone who is in opposition to their takeover, opposes what they want, then they're considered a threat. Cancer research. You understand that the reason you have to continue to fund cancer is because of mutations, because of different types of cancer, because of how the disease spreads, how it becomes predictable and unpredictable. You have to stay out ahead of it. So you cut funding to these programs by what's 37%. Then you can't make up that time, which means people who could have preventable or treatment plans, depending on the type of cancer that they have, lose their life. Why? Why? There's no reason to do that. None. Again, blue states, liberals, progressives, MAGA, we don't want funding cut for cancer research because we know that cancer affects everybody. Last time I checked, cancer doesn't give a fuck who you vote for. Doesn't care what color hat you wear. Doesn't care if you're gay, straight, non-binary, trans, doesn't give a fuck. It is indiscriminate. If you've ever been through it, or if you've watched your child go through it, you understand how horrible it is. You lose your dignity, you lose your grace, you lose, in many cases, you lose your will to live. I was dealing with that with a 5-year-old kid and a 7-year-old kid while raising her brothers. If it wasn't for programs funded by the NCI and the NIH, my kid could have fucking died. And that's many, many millions of Americans in the same exact position. And we're talking about celebrating waste, fraud, and abuse. Do me a favor. If anybody, so there's 1,500 people in here right now. Can you put a blue heart in the chat if you yourself has experienced cancer, or if you know a family member or a dear friend who has? Blue heart in the chat if you yourself has experienced it, or you have a friend or a dear friend or a family member that has. Look at the amount of blue hearts. See what I mean? This affects everybody. Why are we doing this? There's programs like St. Jude's, and there's programs like Dana-Farber at the Children's Hospital in Boston, Sloan Kettering, the Mayo Clinics. These agencies, they are yes, they're in their for-profit healthcare system. I get it, but they get federal funding through colleges and universities to help develop these treatment plans. And they have dedicated oncologists and cancer nurses and dedicated programs, although our system is not set up to support kids with cancer. I can tell you that firsthand. But why are we cutting programs, and why are people celebrating it? Food, healthcare, wanting to involuntarily lethally inject houseless people, and let's cut cancer funding. Look at the amount of blue hearts. And now we're going to blame pregnant women if they take acetaminophen, because it's going to cause autism. What the fuck are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? And these people are in charge? What the fuck are we doing? I want you to get mad. I want you to get angry. I want you to get involved. I want you to do something. I want you to be so disgusted and so absolutely just looking at this diabolical attack on basic human decency under the cover of Make America Great, under the cover of America First. He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck. He certainly doesn't. I don't know what the hell's going on with her. She doesn't give a fuck either. They'll just lie to you about everything because they want a theocracy. They want a fascist form of government with Donald Trump at the helm, and they don't give a fuck who suffers along the way. Because when you're talking about using healthcare as leverage to cut tens of thousands of federal jobs, that shows you everything, that tells you everything you need to know. And don't forget, those jobs are going to be cut by the federal government under the direction of Russ Vought from Project 2025, not just blue-haired liberals, not just fingernail-painting radical leftists. It's everybody. Explain it. Explain it. So here's an example of the bullshit that JD. First of all, this is just my political science, my campaign strategist hat's coming. JD Vance, John Thune, Mike Johnson on the Republican side, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries on the Democratic side meet with the president yesterday. The president didn't speak about it. Nope. JD Vance came out of the White House and spoke about it. That is an example of how bad they have it, because the vice president is going to be the sacrificial lamb. Thank you. The vice president is going to be the bitch. The vice president is going to be taking it raw dog style, because they can't have the president try to go out there and explain it, because he'd fuck shit up. So this is JD Vance trying to, just listen to what he says. Based on everything that we've gone through this morning, just listen to what he has to say.
Had a very frank conversation with the Senate and House Democratic leadership. Look, the principle at stake here is very simple. We have disagreements about tax policy, but you don't shut the government down. We have disagreements about healthcare policy, but you don't shut the government down. You don't use your policy disagreements as leverage to not pay our troops.
Oh, you mean by threatening to fire federal employees if you don't get what you want, JD? Is that what you mean? Probably not, right?
groups, to not have essential services of government actually function. You don't say the fact that you disagree about a particular tax provision is an excuse for shutting down the people's government and all the essential services that come along with it. If you look at what Chuck Schumer has said in the past consistently, it's whatever our disagreements are, let's negotiate with them. Let's talk about them. Let's figure out a bipartisan solution, but you don't shut the government down. In other words, you don't put a gun to the American people's head and say, unless you do exactly what Senate and House Democrats want you to do, we're going to shut down your government.
JD, Booby, your Office of Management and Budget, Russ Vaught, has said that unless the Democrats give exactly what's in the GOP budget, cutting trillions of dollars in public funding for public health services, they're going to fire 30,000 federal employees. So who's using what and who's using what as leverage there, JD?
That's exactly what they're proposing out there. Now, we have to remember, they're very frustrated. They say that they're very frustrated about the fact that this negotiation has not taken place until today. But if you look at the original thing they did with this negotiation, it was a $1.5 trillion spending package, basically saying to the American people, we want to give massive amounts of money, hundreds of billions of dollars to illegal aliens for their health care, while Americans are struggling to pay their health care.
Absolute fucking lie. There's no other way to describe it other than it is an absolute fucking lie. Federal money does not pay for undocumented health care. States can do what they want. States' rights, correct? States' rights can do whatever the fuck they want. That's up to them. It's an absolute fucking lie. And he's using it because they've primed their base to think, oh, the fucking, I don't want them damn illegals getting that health care. Well, sir, they don't. This is going to be cutting your health care. Well, I don't care. I'd sacrifice my own family's health care because I don't want one damn illegal getting no health care. That's what's happened. That's what they've done in a nutshell.
Bills. That was their initial foray into this negotiation. We thought it was absurd. We told them it was absurd, and now they come in here saying that if you don't give us everything that we want, we're going to shut down the government. We think that.
And again, what do the Democrats want? Extend the ACA tax credit and peel back the money that you cut from Medicaid and Medicare. That's it. That's it. But apparently, that's a bridge too far for conservative Christians.
That's preposterous. We think it's totally unacceptable, and we think the American people are going to suffer because these guys won't do the right thing. Now, I want to make one final point here. You will hear a lot from Senate Democrats, from House Democrats about the fact that American healthcare policy is broken. Well, we know that American healthcare policy is broken. We've been trying to fix it for the 8 months that we've been in office.
You've been trying to fix it? What was that?
But every single thing that they accuse about being broken about American health care is policy the Democrats have supported for the past decade. So if they want to talk about how to fix American health care policy, let's do it. The Speaker would love to do it. The Senate Majority Leader would love to do it.
Really?
Let's work on it together. But let's do it in the context of an open government that's providing essential services to the American people. That's all that we're proposing to do.
Right.
And the fact that they refuse to do that shows how unreasonable their position is. I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing. I hope they change their mind, but we're going to see. I'll let this. We just had
Again, first of all, any significant change in public health policy from an insurance perspective has always been led by Democrats. Whether it be Medicaid expansion, whether it be the ACA, whether it be the Inflation Reduction Act, which reduced costs for pharmaceuticals, for seniors, putting more caps on treatment on prescription drugs, all done by Democrats. Every opportunity Republicans have had to remove those protections, they've either taken a vote on it or they've done it through executive action. The famous John McCain moment as Republicans tried to repeal Obamacare. What the fuck have they done? Not a goddamn thing. And he's going to stand there and lie to the American public. He's going to lie to them. Lie to them. The Democrats don't want the government to be shut down. What the Democrats want is the Republicans to realize that, listen, you motherfuckers are cutting health insurance. You motherfuckers, because you want to pay for your corporate tax breaks, want to kick tens of millions of Americans off of insurance, creating a bigger problem now. that they can't afford health care. They can't afford groceries. They can't afford energy. They can't afford gas. They can't afford their rent. They can't afford their mortgage. And then all of a sudden, because of these cuts, their health care is going to spike exponentially. Friends, they are fucking lying to you. I know you know that. But this is why I spend time breaking this shit down. Because it's necessary for you to know exactly what it is they're talking about. The whole rural hospital fund thing, bullshit. Rural hospitals are going to be upside down between 150 and 200 billion dollars over the next 10 years. And what's the GOP package include? 50 billion. 25 billion is only all that's guaranteed. The rest has to be done through grants. They're fucking lying to you. They know they're lying to you. The polls are starting to catch up to them. They are lying to you. Here's the breakdown, by the way. Let me just do this first. Hold on a second.
Stock market we have the best economy we've ever had. We have the best stock market we have the best economy we've ever had. We have the best stock market we've ever.
Okay, what does the data say? Unemployment and food prices are rising, and anxiety about the future is higher than it's been since 2008. Top Google search over the last 6 months: help with mortgage. That surpasses the 2008 housing crisis. Average U.S. median household income, the U.S. median home price right now. Anybody want to take a guess as to what it is? Anybody want to take a guess what the U.S. median single family house price is right now? Anybody want to take a guess? Show some numbers in the chat. $410,000. That's the average. Okay? $7.25 federal minimum wage. By the way, that $410,000, it's up $100,000 in 6 years. $7.25 federal minimum wage, unchanged since 2009. It would require, under those conditions, it would require the average worker to make $61 an hour. Late rent trends are rising quickly. The worst cities for late rent are Milwaukee, Sacramento, Houston, Detroit, and Memphis. 68, 59, 58, 54, and 50% respectively. At nearly $2,100, average monthly rent nationwide is on the rise. Renters are increasingly relying on mid-month income to make ends meet, according to economists. And Zohran Mamdani, who's been labeled a communist, wants some rent control in New York City. How fucking radical. Whew. So radical. 86% of Americans, 86% of Americans surveyed through Gallup say the cost of groceries stresses them out. Trump promised to lower the cost of food, but in the first half of this year, prices have risen for household staples like meat, coffee, dairy products, and sugar. 86%. You think that's just blue-haired liberals? Probably not. Nearly 40% of Americans think the economy is unfair. 61% call it uncertain, 40% call it unfair, 54% call it struggling. For the first time since April of 2021, there are more unemployed U.S. workers than available jobs to fill. And that's post-pandemic. Trump fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Stats back in August. Remember Erica McIntyre? She was dismissed hours after releasing low jobs data. The president claimed without evidence the Bureau's numbers were fake. Meanwhile, Trump's approval rating has hit a new record low. 64% disapprove of Trump's handling prices and inflation. 57% dislike Trump's management of the economy, and 54% hold an unfavorable opinion of the president as it sits today. All that winning. All of it. All kinds of winning. So this is from Real Clear Politics. This is the latest polling. This is of yesterday. 45.3% approve, 52.5% disapprove. His disapproval rating is up a point from over last month. And this is broken down. On the economy, 55% disapprove. On foreign policy, 52% disapprove. On immigration, 46% approve, 49% disapprove. Inflation, 39% approve, 59% disapprove. Is the economy stupid? So the things that he ran on specifically were lowering prices and closing the border. He's 55% disapprove of how he's handling the economy and 50% disapprove of how he's handling immigration. Those two buckets right there are the reason that they're trying to cheat for the 2026 midterms, because they can't win based on those numbers. 55%, again, polled through real clear politics. 55% said the country is heading in the wrong direction, and only 38% say it's heading in the right direction. Who the fuck are those 38%? Is what I want to know. The majority of people, significant majority, 61% disapprove of Congress. Yep. But we got to make sure that we're protecting predators. We got to make sure that we're not investigating Tom Homan for taking a bag of cash. Nothing to see here, though, right? Here's some more. This is from Caroline Leavitt. This is nonsense. So Caroline Leavitt's job now, she's got to spin this whole thing, and she's failing miserably.
Majority of the American public wants to keep the government open. I mean, it's not even close. Democrats and Republicans, independents across the country want the government funded because they want our military and our troops to be paid. They want TSA agents and Border Patrol to be paid. They want food assistance programs for women and children in impoverished communities to continue going out the door. All of that will come to an end if Democrats vote against this clean CR that Republicans are proposing.
I don't think she meant to say that, but unless Democrats agree with Caroline and the administration, then programs such as WIC will be cut. Not the flex I think you were hoping for there, Caroline.
And might I just add, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are on the record multiple times in their past political lives stating that they too believe a government shutdown is bad. In fact, I quote, Chuck Schumer just last year in 2024 said a shutdown would mean chaos and pain and needless heartache for the American people. Well, we hope that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats won't cause chaos and pain and heartache. We want our country to continue to be funded. We want our government to be open so we can continue doing the business of the American people. Overwhelming majority.
What? Again, Caroline, I don't know what to tell you. I feel really bad for you that you have to work and lie every single day. You're getting good at it. I know when you go plug, I feel like, who were the characters? Was it the Blood Boys from Mad Max Fury Road? Were they the Blood Boys? I feel like that's what it was, right? That she's got to plug in and get resupplied every single night, right? Because her lies are just getting, and you can see it in her face, how it's taking its toll on her, right? Exactly. How did she not burst into flames? You're right, Francis. Well, it just gets worse because of the lies that he's now trying to tell farmers. This is nuts. Let's talk about this for a second. This is what he wants to say to farmers. And then you're going to hear farmers. And listen, I respect the profession, but many of you voted for this. You didn't learn your lesson the first time. Sorry, not sorry.
I have farmers. I love farmers. I won 80%, 85% of the farmers, and I love them. And I'm never going to do anything to hurt our farmers.
We've got a real disaster with this tariff deal.
The outlook is so bleak financially.
I've never been as worried as I am now.
Right now,
it's predicted soybean farmers can lose $200 or more per acre on this crop. A farmer like myself, we have 1,200 acres of soybeans. That's $240,000 of loss.
It's going to be tough to get some of that business back that we're losing. Retaliatory tariffs has caused us to be less competitive in the global marketplace.
The way things are, there won't be a farmer left in 5 years if things don't change, because our expenses are so high. We would a lot rather have free markets than a handout.
We have farm.
So when these farms close, just a coincidence that J.D. Vance has major stake in a company called Acre Trader, which is prepared to buy up that farmland and do what with it? Oh, I have a feeling I know. I think we all know. Monsanto, anybody? So, and there's more. There's more. This is also what he said about farmers. Just listen to this, okay? This is what happened the first time. Tariffs, retaliatory, China stopped buying soybeans and other products, had to bail out the farming industry. The same fucking method. Tariffs, then had to bail out the farming industry. And the farmers voted for him again? Do y'all, generally speaking, not every farmer, but do y'all hate brown people that much? I guess the ones that you're paying under the table, you don't hate them as much? Your crops are dying in the fields because you voted for this fucking shit. You're going to lose your farm because you voted for this shit. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Like somebody said, a culture war cost you to lose your family's legacy? Many of you, I'm sure, have been farming for hundreds of years. You've fed millions of Americans. You, by the way, have fed kids in school that the federal government now thinks is a bridge too far. And you voted for it again? You voted for it again. We have a farmer in our family. Sam's a farmer. She busts her fucking ass to run her farm. Busts her ass. And I know that the profession is extremely difficult, and I get it, and there's all kinds of factors, and I understand. But so many of you, so many of them voted for this shit. What the fuck? So here's Mr. Trump again, admitting that he fucked up.
Take our money. We're doing well because of tariffs. We're doing unbelievable. We're making more money than we ever have made. And by the way, we're going to take some of that tariff money that we made, just to get off the subject for a second. We're going to take some of that tariff money that we made. We're going to give it to our farmers.
The tariffs that you imposed, China responded with retaliatory tariffs. Say that 3 times fast. Our policies, MAGA policies, are the ones that created this mess. Hey, I'm going to start this again. Hold on. Our policies are the ones that created this mess, just like the last time. So we're gonna punish you. We're gonna punish you through these tariffs. The American consumer pays more because of the tariffs, so the American consumer is going to bail out the farming industry that you decimated. Yeah, that fucking tracks. Makes perfect sense to me.
We want to take our money. We're doing well because of tariffs. We're doing unbelievable. We're making more money than we ever have made. And by the way, we're going to take some of that tariff money that we made, just to get off the subject for a second. We're going to take some of that tariff money that we made. We're going to give it to our farmers, who are, for a little while, going to be hurt until it kicks in. The tariffs kick into their benefit. So we're going to make sure that our farmers are in great shape, because we're taking in a lot of money. We want to take our money.
We're taking in a lot of money. And then remember, he found some money on the tariff shelf. Remember that. American consumers, whether or not MAGA wants to believe this, pay the tariff. Not all of it, because some companies have not passed on all the tariffs yet, but they will. Because some of them have already gone public with it. So here's let's game this out. Tariffs are imposed, and now it's like you can't buy pharmaceuticals, you can't buy furniture, all kinds of fucking shit. A whole bunch of other fucking stupid ass stuff, right? So he's just like, tariff for you, and you get a tariff, and you get a tariff, and you get a tariff. Who are you? You get a tariff. Who are you? You get a tariff too. American consumers, costs have gone up. Inflation is going up. We're losing jobs. People's health care are cut. Dollars not stretching as far as it once was. Rents are out of control. Mortgage rates are up. Housing costs are up. Federal minimum wage remains at $7.25. People are declaring bankruptcy at higher rates. There's now more unemployed people than there are open jobs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Tariffs paid by the American consumer, the money generated that he likes to talk about comes on the back of the American consumer. And now he's going to use your money to bail out a farming industry that he crippled. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. The fuck? That makes perfect sense. I think I have one more on the topic of farming. Here you go. This is John Thune. John Thune, majority leader in the Senate, senator from South Dakota. I've been to South Dakota. A lot of farm country out there. A lot of it. Ton. That's where I had my tornado story. A lot of it. A lot of farm country. Okay? This is what John Thune had to say about the farming industry. And this is interesting. This is very telling.
Why should American taxpayers bail out farmers who are hurting because of the president's tariff policy?
It's a great fucking question. That's a question that I was just asking. Why should American taxpayers have to bail out the farming industry that Trump and MAGA Republican policies help decimate? Let's see how he answers.
Well, look, I think that the farmers, and I represent a lot of them, and they want nothing more than open markets. There are markets right now that aren't open to some of our commodities. And as a consequence of that, we've got a big harvest coming in here in South Dakota, corn and soybeans, and no place to go with it.
Why is that, John? Why do South Dakota farmers have no place to go with their product? Why is that, John?
So what the president has said is, I'm going to support and I'm going to help our farmers. And so we are looking at, I'm a member of the Senate Ag Committee, have been for some time, and we're looking at potential solutions to make sure that we can help support farmers until some of those markets come back. I think part of it is that the president's trying to achieve with his trade policy reciprocity with countries that have been taking advantage of us for a long time. And I think most of us support that. I think a lot of our farmers support that.
Really?
They are anxious. They want to see markets opened up. And so when I speak to the president and his team about this, I always reiterate the importance of keeping agriculture front and center when you're negotiating trade deals. But at the end of the day, our farmers are probably going to need some financial assistance this year, and a lot of the revenue coming in off the tariffs is what they would use to provide that.
But Leader Thune, why not? Why should...
Yeah. What? China bought over $12 billion in soybeans from American farmers last year. This year to date, do you know how much they've purchased? Trump's erratic, incoherent tariffs. Now we're going to bail out those same farmers, and guess who'll pay? You. So next time you go to the store and your coffee's 40% more expensive than it was this time last year, know that the extra money you spend on it is going to pay for soybeans that are rotting in the field. That makes perfect sense, right? Makes perfect sense. We bail out, we have to put out the fire that they created. Good morning, Grant. How are you today?
I'm great. I just wanted to add to that conversation. We just gave $20 billion to Melee down in Argentina to pay for their shipping costs to basically plant and send all their soybeans over to China. Meanwhile, Brazil is tearing down their rainforests at the behest of China to plant more soybeans. It's all basically Trump socialism to pay for and bail out the farmers. It's awful. So
are you a farmer, Grant?
What's that?
Are you?
No, I'm not a farmer. I live in Minnesota, but I know a lot of farmers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing that happened the first time. I mean, this is the exact same model that happened the first time, and again, due respect to the farming community, many of y'all voted for this shit. So I'm sorry, but you're not going to get sympathy from me.
Have you seen the text that the Ag Secretary sent to Scott Bessent going over the $20 billion bailout to Melee? It's insane.
I have not. I'm sure we can find it.
So they're basically saying that you shouldn't be doing this. It's going to cause a huge bubble in the farming markets, and they know how bad it is. So they all went to, like Elon Musk was supporting Melee and the Libertarian Front down there. It's not great, right? So this all ties together. They wanted a Trump-style government in Argentina. It didn't work. Now we're sending $20 billion to bail out Argentina, which then cuts down the shipping costs for all of the soybeans that are now going to go over to China instead of just having China buy the soybeans that are made here in the United States.
Exactly. And then because China, don't forget their recent meeting they had with President Modi from India and Vladimir Putin and others, they're resetting the global trade while this is happening. Yep. So other countries are going to be like, why the fuck should I continue to work with the U.S.? Why the fuck should I do this shit? So that revenue that's lost, it's going to be hard to pull that back.
100%.
Farmers, so farmers are going to struggle. It's going to potentially could put an end to the farming industry on the grand scale in our country because China's going to say, I can get soybeans from other places. It's unfortunate that the rainforest is going to be the victim of this, which affects all of us in a different way. But thanks for jumping in, Grant. I appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
See ya. Okay, what have I got here? Is this a sounder from Pete Kegsbreath?
A few months ago, I was at the White House when President Trump announced his Liberation Day for America's trade policy. It was a landmark day. Well, today is another Liberation Day. The liberation of America's warriors, in name, in deed, and in authorities. You kill people and break things for a living.
Jesus.
You're not politically correct and don't necessarily belong always in polite society.
Well, okay. That's kind of nice. That's the guy. That's Mr. Kegsbreath. Okay. What else do we have? that was fucking wild. Oh, did Trump speak there too? Okay, he spoke. That's right. Because don't forget the gathering of the generals. This is what he had to say. I'm sure this is going to be great.
Into a room so silent before. This is very. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. You're not allowed to do that. You know what? Just have a good time. And if you want to applaud, you applaud. And if you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank. There goes your future.
Okay. What? All right. Let me see what else I have here. I'm not taking my shirt off. In case anybody asked. All right. Let me see what else we have here. This is the text. This is the story that was just being talked about. Sorry, I guess the light color, my bad, whatever. Okay, so there is a text message. So this is the story that Grant was just talking about. Camerawoman captures Scott Bessent's text exposing White House panic. Members of Trump's administration are scrambling to right their ship after the president's tariff sent a major foreign trading partner into the arms of Argentina, which just received a massive bailout from the U.S. government. The photo shows Treasury Secretary reading a text from the Agricultural Secretary. She's worried China has outmaneuvered the U.S. by buying up Argentine soybeans at the expense of our farmers, even as the administration plans to bail out Argentina with billions of dollars. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was spotted at the United Nations General Assembly last week reading a panicked message from BR, who is Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture. The message linked to the X account of Ben Scholl, a Midwestern grain trader who has sounded the alarm on Washington's newly tossed lifeline to Buenos Aires. Quote, just a heads up, I'm getting more intel, but this is highly unfortunate. We bailed out Argentina yesterday, and in return, Argentina moved their export tariffs on grains, reducing their price to China at a time when we would normally be selling to China. Soy prices are dropping further because of it. This gives China more leverage on us. This message continued with Rollins adding, quote, on a plane, but Scott, I can call when I land. The photograph taken by photojournalist Angela Katsanis for the Associated Press has already circulated through Argentine news. Last week, Bessent pledged that the U.S. was, quote, ready to do what is needed within its mandate to support Argentina, which was a systemically important U.S. ally in Latin America. He said U.S. officials were in talks to establish a $20 billion swap with Argentina's central bank, an institution Argentine President Javier Milei once promised to abolish and purchase secondary or primary government debt. Bessent even hinted at handouts from U.S. companies. Scholl argued that this was a huge mistake. China and Argentina work together for soybeans as Bessent offers to subsidize the Argentine economy. They think you are stupid. Secretary of Agriculture acknowledging that we're getting fucking hosed by what you just did. By what you just did. It's going to cripple farmers. Thanks for that heads up, Grant. And thank you, mods, for putting that together for me. Wow. There are two. Can't use it. I'm just looking at, here's another statement.
We are preparing every day. We have to be prepared for war, not for defense. We're training warriors, not defenders. We fight wars to win, not to defend. Defense is something you do all the time. It's inherently reactionary and can lead to overuse, overreach, and mission creep. War is something you do sparingly, on our own terms, and with clear aims. We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy. We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters.
Okay. Okay. I'm laughing because of Pete Hegseth trying to act all tough. Americans are starving. People are going to lose their health care. Public health agencies have been attacked and assaulted. Distrust in public health policy. Women, pregnant people are going to be scrutinized and stigmatized and shamed because they want to treat their fever during pregnancy with acetaminophen. And we've got the president of the United States and this fucking clown standing in front of the war fighters, talking about the warrior ethos, sending troops into American cities, being sued because they're doing it bullshit, lying to the American public, crippling the farming industry, watching prices go up, democratic institutions fail, fascist takeover, authoritarian regime, and all we want is public health. Who's fucking radical? All we want is access to affordable health care, food, shelter, water. That's it. Then get the fuck out of the way. Healthcare, food, water, shelter. Again, healthcare, food, water, shelter. That is just, I know you guys. I know. You're going to be like, Steve is so fucking radical. Yeah, I know. I'm off my nut, as they say. That's it. That's it. And because this group of people and others in leadership in our government, including the Christians in Congress, despise brown, black, and queer people and the disabled, all marginalized groups so much that they don't care about health care, food, water, and shelter. So what are we going to do about it? Let me just check in a couple real quick here. Again, friends, we're crowdfunded here. You want to support the channel? A few great ways to do that. You can find the various appetizers out there. So thank you in advance. Thank you, Savage Mom. I appreciate you. Thank you, Murray. I think it's Murray. You're very kind, Steve. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Let me just make this adjustment real quick. Okay. Let's break down more of the corruption that's in the administration. Let me just bring up T for a second, and then we'll get back to our regular scheduled programming. T for Teresa. How are you today?
Okay, how are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I wanted to say I recently learned that there was a book written in 2003 with 18 bulletin points showing or questioning what makes a fascist. And it's been kind of run by several people.
Hey T, you keep cutting out, friend. I can't hear you. Do you want to try to request again, maybe? Because you just keep cutting out. I can't. That's better right there. That's better.
Yes, it loves my air conditioner, and I don't know why. The closer I am to it, the better it is. Okay, anyway, well, so this book was done in 2003 by historians. It has 14 bulletin points showing what would lead to a fascist. And in my lifetime, I never would even conceive an idea of this. But several people ran through it. And Trump meets 13 out of the 14. And that's terrifying.
He, in theory, meets them all. He meets them all. I've been through that exercise.
Yeah. Yes, someone else said that too, but I'll even go with one is bad enough. One is bad enough.
One does not make you a fascist, though. They need to be all 14. That's the whole point.
Correct. And I agree, but one is bad enough. And the Constitution now seems to be toilet paper to him.
Yeah.
And I got to say, I'm old enough to remember Watergate, and that's a joke compared to this.
I would agree with you. Thanks for jumping in today, T. I appreciate you being here. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Enjoy that air conditioning.
All right, thanks.
Couple little reminders here of some of the things that he has said recently. It's necessary to play this now just because of the what he is literally speaking about as we speak to this gathering of the military brass. I just want you to listen to what the American president is saying here. This is from an Oval Office speech, and I'm going to immediately pivot to what he just recently said. Hearts in the chat for my mod team. They're literally going back and forth between keeping me honest and kicking me in the shin, and also giving me snippets of what's been happening at this address of the military brass in Quantico, Virginia. So again, hearts in the chat from the mods, please. So this is the president. Here you go.
You know, we brought the numbers down in Chicago a little bit by having the FBI in there for the last 5 months. We brought the numbers down in Memphis a little bit, but now we're going for the big one. Now we're going to go for the big one. But we set ourselves up very well in Chicago, Memphis, New Orleans a little bit, going in early just to see what was happening. You know, we study it. We're studying the site. It's sort of like war. I mean, I hate to tell you, it's like war. Some of these people are really bad. They're really, really
like
sick people. They're dangerous people. They're killers. They're murderers, drug dealers, and can have it. And you can't have other.
What's war? Oh, okay. How many dog whistles did we catch from that? And once again, when we refer to Donald Trump as a racist, which he fucking is, MAGA doesn't believe it because guess what? MAGA's fucking racist too. That's why we say Trump's a transphobe. No, he's not. Well, it's because you're a transphobe too. When we say Trump's a bigot, they say, no, he's not. It's because you're a bigot too. Sorry, but if the fascist flag fits, then fucking wear it. So, this is what he had to say on that particular topic in his most recent speech. And I'll play some more of this.
Fire department. I always put the fire department in because they're great. They're great. And I got 95% of their vote, too. That helps. When you get 95% of their vote, you always have to mention them. But they're great. And they're brave in our inner cities, which we're going to be talking about, because it's a big part of war now. It's a big part of war. But the firemen go up on ladders, and you have people shooting at them while they're up on ladders. I don't even know if anybody heard that. And I said, don't talk about it much, but I think you have to. Our firemen are incredible. They're up on one of these ladders that goes way up to the sky, rescuing people, and you have animals shooting at them, shooting bullets at firemen. They're great. And they're brave.
Okay, listen to this again. This is the first time I'm hearing it. A couple of things to pick up on. Animals shooting at the firemen. He also, in the same speech, references inner cities. Okay.
Fire department. I always put the fire department in because they're great. They're great. And I got 95% of their vote, too. That helps. When you get 95% of their vote, you always have to mention them. But they're great. And they're brave in our inner cities, which we're going to be talking about, because it's a big part of war now.
The inner cities are a big part of war now. The inner cities, keep that in mind. Nice dog whistle.
Part of war. But the firemen go up on ladders, and you have people shooting at them while they're up on ladders. I don't even know if anybody heard that. And I said, don't talk about it much, but I think you have to. Our firemen are incredible. They're up on one of these ladders that goes way up to the sky, rescuing people, and you have animals shooting at them.
Okay. That's great. Here's some more. Wow. He's unbridled in his racism now because he knows his base loves it.
Beautiful paper, the gorgeous paper. I said, throw a little more gold on it. They deserve it. I want the A paper, not the D paper. We used to sign a piece of garbage. I said, this man's going to be a general, right? Yeah. I don't want to use this. I want to use the big, beautiful, firm paper. I want to use the real gold writing when you talk about the position, and they're beautiful. And, but how would you like to have that where some kid sitting in the back office is having it signed with an auto pen? I thought about it, and I thought about you people first, admirals, generals. I said, some beautiful paper, the gorgeous paper. I said, throw a little more gold on it.
Kip Snook, your comment says the host can't comprehend what president is saying, and I know you said that in all caps because I know you need some attention. Can you comprehend what he's saying? I'm questioning his mental capacity. He's dumb as a post, and he's losing his shit. If you can understand that, well, here's the thing. This is just for you, my guy.
Smart people don't like me.
So I don't know what that says about you, but yeah. Grant, you're welcome. Thank you for coming here, buddy. That's the president, ladies and gentlemen. Do we have any more? Do we have any more nuggets from this particular session? Probably. Had 2 tanks stolen in Memphis? What? I don't know. I'm just checking here to see if there's anything else that's breaking from that. Never walk into a room so quiet. Covered that one. Played when President announces Liberation Day. Saw that one. Yep. Fucking bullshit. Here we go. A little bit more. This is a Newsmax clip. I'm sure this is going to be great. Excited for these.
This time. So I'm going over. I'm going to be meeting with generals and with admirals and with leaders. And if I don't like somebody, I'm going to fire them right on the spot.
Oh, I'm going to be meeting with generals and admirals and with leaders, and if I don't like somebody, I'm going to fire them right on the spot. Yeah. Do people not give a shit about that? Like, do we not care? Does that not matter to anybody? Good morning, Renee. How are you today? Renee, are you there? Renee. I guess not. That's the president of the United States, who is dumb, who is an ignorant person, but who is losing his shit. The thing that always, I'll be objective, the thing that always impressed me about Trump is the ability for him to work a crowd, the ability for him to connect with people that are there to watch him. He doesn't have that anymore. He just does not have that anymore. He just looks like a feeble old man who doesn't have a fucking clue as to what's happening, who shits himself. There's video from a recent event that he was at with people sitting next to him are just like, what the fuck is that smell? Who's losing it? Like literally, figuratively and literally. What about Biden? Yep, exactly. So, and then again, speaking of incompetence, I just want to play this again for you because there's that story that won't go away regarding the $50,000 that Tom Homan took. Because this is all related. This is all related to what this worthless and weak administration has done. Okay? And again, ICE asking for more money to go violate people's civil rights. ICE lying to you. Don't forget, Tom Homan's on the record saying 70% of the people that we have rounded up have criminal records. The other 30% are in gangs. We fucking know that that is not true. So that's another lie. Gavin Newsom, states' rights, said, you can't wear a mask. You're being an ICE agent in our state. You can't. And the federal government's like, oh, they can't do it. Yeah, they can. States' rights, right? So it's okay for states to tell women what they can and can't do with their body, but it's not okay for a state to say, you want to be a federal agent in our state? You can't wear a mask. Guess that's fine, right? Yeah, okay. So this is Caroline trying to defend the situation with Tom Homan because this story won't go away.
An investigation. I mean, can you just speak to, did the president ask the Justice Department to close the case, and does Homan have to return the $50,000?
Well, Mr. Homan never took the $50,000 that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight, number one. Number two, this was another example of the weaponization of the Biden Department of Justice against one of President Trump's strongest and most vocal supporters.
That was White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt last week telling reporters to get their facts straight about the FBI's investigation into border czar Tom Homan for a cash for contracts scheme. It was first reported by MSNBC. Now MSNBC has ironed out more of those details on how Homan became a part of that FBI sting. 4 sources familiar with the investigation and a government document reviewed by MSNBC say Homan was not entrapped by undercover FBI agents, as Leavitt suggested, but rather that those agents were repeatedly steered to Homan by one of his own associates. Julian Jace Calderas, a former U.S. immigration official who worked under Homan in the Obama administration, allegedly proposed to the agents who were posing as businessmen that Homan could help them win lucrative federal contracts if Donald Trump became president again, in exchange for $1 million. Calderas first allegedly proposed the scheme in May 2023 and continued to do so for more than a year until that September 2024 meeting in Dallas where agents allegedly recorded Homan accepting $50,000 in cash. Instead of immediately moving to file charges, those agents waited to see what would happen after Homan joined the Trump administration as the nation's top immigration official. But when Donald Trump won, his DOJ shut the whole investigation down. The White House has criticized the investigation as a politically motivated inquiry by the Biden administration, and Homan has denied he did anything wrong.
I think I would deny that too. So, Caroline, listen, I know you're from New Hampshire, and that explains a lot. But maybe you should cut bait while you still have any hope of finding a job in right-wing media, although you probably will no matter what. But maybe now's the time. Maybe you can say, you know what? I've decided to go out and spread the gospel from sea to shining sea. And for me to truly give back to the MAGA experience or turning point where she may end up, who the fuck knows. But get out now. because you just lie every single day, and the cross must be heavy. He who carries the burden, right? It's like the One Ring, you know? Good luck with that. I want to thank, real quickly, I want to thank Alexandra for your kindness to keep up the happy. It was from yesterday. I missed it. I'm sorry. Steve, keep up the good fight. I appreciate you very much. That's very kind. Look, I don't know what to say. I do, but it's so funny because my boys are sending pictures to of their little sister for their birthday in our little group text. It's kind of adorable, actually, but she's hard to surprise, but I figured something out. Let me see if I have any other sound from this amazing press conference. No, not currently. All right, a few more things. As we're, descending into madness. It's fucking crazy. We talked about the cancer cuts, and I think that is just so fucking disturbing. But here's another element from Mr. Trump as we're, again, don't forget what also happened yesterday. There was a presser with the war criminal, Bibi Netanyahu, who's been just, roll out the red carpet. This is kind of a bizarre moment, but they're all bizarre. Here you go.
Agency in United Nations was interesting because, as you know, a few days ago, they introduced me. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. I'm looking at my teleprompter, and the thing was dead, stone cold, dead. The thing's up here. I have a long, beautiful speech to make. I'm back 30 feet back, and I'm saying, they're introducing me. There's nothing on my teleprompter. So, but I made a speech. I actually got good marks. You think Biden could have done that? I don't think so. I don't think he could have done that. I don't think too many people could have done it. But actually, it was actually more of a speech from my heart. If you want to know the truth, I think it was maybe better in certain ways because it was from the heart. It has to be from the heart. Otherwise, you're in big trouble. Agency in United.
A newspaper called him the world's most powerful man baby. I don't even know what to say about that one. That's a wild one. But okay. Oh my God. And then this was a hot mic moment caught on Air Force One as we're talking about the president's suppressing speech. And don't forget the statement he made that I played for you earlier. If I don't like any of these generals or admirals, I'm just going to fire them. Okay, that's cool. This was in regard to, journalistic organizations saying mean words about him. Oh.
That's something that should be talked about for licensing, too. When you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess they haven't had a conservative on in years or something, somebody said. But when you go back and you take a look, all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party. Thank you, everybody.
He said, you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. Yes, they are. Just like I'm allowed to say, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth, and any member of the cabinet, Steve, Facts Still Matter. I do this live every Monday through Friday, 8 to noon Eastern time. Fuck you and your fascist takeover of our government. Thanks for playing. Have a day. Go buy some merch. Facts HQ. Okay. It's the same fucking thing every fucking day with these people. They just lie to their fucking base. Nobody gives a fuck. Republicans don't have the fucking balls or the vagina to stand up to it, so they're just going to let it happen. Hi, Heather. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I just had to turn off my Bluetooth. Can you hear me?
Yes, I am.
Yes. I had a couple of things. I really wonder if anybody around Trump is even telling him the truth. Like, are they telling him what he wants to hear, or are they telling him the truth? Because I don't think
they're
they
telling
are.
him what he wants to hear. They're telling him what he wants to hear. Of course they are.
Yeah, exactly. So he has no clue. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was healthcare. And the whole reason we don't have universal healthcare is because of the insurance lobby. Because if we do go to a universal healthcare, it would put a lot of these insurance companies out of business.
It wouldn't, though. It wouldn't, because there would still be private insurance would still be an option. It's just the for-profit industry would shift. They might have to shift resources. It wouldn't necessarily put them out of business, because there would still be private insurance.
Yeah, but I don't know. The way I worked in medical for a long time, and there's so much overhead costs. That's why insurance costs so much, is all the overhead for all of these approvals, for every little procedure, every little test that everybody has to go through their, primary physician, especially people that are on Medicaid. And so think about how many people have to be employed just to deal with insurance.
Yeah.
Call centers everywhere.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. I mean, that's where all the money's going, is the overhead for all this approval nonsense. If they just let the doctors do their jobs.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's the administrative. It's like, here's patient, here's care provider. Medicare for all has, a couple of pathways to get there. Under our current system, it's like this. Everybody's got to get a slice of the pie. So, yeah. Yep. You're right. Thank you, Heather. As always, I appreciate your friend for being here today. Have yourself a good one. Be safe out there, okay?
You too. Thanks.
All right. Bye. Yeah, I mean, again, like I've said this a million times to you guys, there's no social or economic argument against universal health care. If you can find one, exactly, Kipper. If you can find one, then I will delete my account and you'll never have to see me again. See a lot of chirping in the chat today, but I don't see anybody willing to come up and talk. But that's life. I might have sent somebody an invitation by mistake. My apologies. If that went to you, you could probably just ignore it. Oh, it's Ryan.
Yeah.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Sorry for me up. I'm at work right now.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. Like I said, it was probably an accident. I'm sorry about that, bud.
Okay, that's cool.
All right, talk to you later. Okay. Everybody keep tapping and sharing. Don't forget, we are crowdfunded here. If you want to participate, please do so. Don't forget, there's a gifting goal. And if you haven't joined our team yet, 858, we're only at 143,000 likes, friends, with 1.1 million, 1,100 people in here. Please consider helping us drive that. Stryker, how are you today?
Spiraling, my friend. How are you?
You're spiraling?
Yeah, it's there's just so much obvious evidence about what's, the path they're taking and what their end goals are. And I'm like dumbfounded that the whole fucking country isn't freaking out right now. Pardon my French. I don't understand how people don't see. It's like a clear series of actions. And I saw one TikTok the other day that like described the full plan in detail. And I said, that makes perfect sense, right? Contract the labor force, start a war against migrants, ship them out. That's 50% of the farm hands in America. Now we have crops rotting in fields. People aren't around to pick them, right? Soon they're going to instrument a food shortage. There's national, issue with trade, right? This tariff war has caused all of our global allies to back away. No one wants to do business with America anymore, right? And so soon they're going to instrument a food shortage, a national emergency. Donald Trump and his buddies are going to buy up all the farmland for pennies on the dollar, right? Classic story of oligarchy. And then we're going to be, and it's like, it's obvious, right? It's all very obvious what's happening. And I don't understand how more people aren't like, wow, this is obvious. We need to get the fuck out of here, or we need to like have a rebellion right now, right? They're trying to redraw districts for the midterm election because he's terrified. And then my sister-in-law is like, I don't even think we're going to end up having a midterm election. They're trying to send the military into, Democratic, brown or black run cities And they're just trying to like instrument this situation of absolute chaos in our country. And then I'm sure that even the concept of birthright citizenship is going to tie into this, and that's probably going to be used to further manipulate election results. Because once they have this executive order accepted, and he's really pushing for the Supreme Court to get on that right now, because once they can say your legitimacy as a citizen is in question, now they can go through all the votes with additional scrutiny and say, oh, we're not just counting the votes, we're also checking whether or not you even had a right to vote. And then they could just throw out whatever ballots they want, right? I'm not generally a conspiracy theorist, but I'm also somewhat intelligent. It all makes perfect sense, right?
Sure
I don't think I'm a crazy person, but why isn't everyone else seeing the same thing I'm seeing? I don't understand. Any words for me, friend?
Yeah, well, I mean, no, everything you touched on is real. I struggle with giving up on the fact that there's going to be no midterm, because if I did that, what would be the point of being here every day? I still hold out hope that there will be midterms. Maybe I'm naive. I don't think so. I just think there's lots of things that have to happen between now and then for something like that to happen. Now, I don't disagree that using the military, but I think it's more fear-mongering than anything else, to be honest, making these threats, because the expectation is you make more and more threats, and they believe that people won't stand up. And sadly, many times that they're right about that. Like I've said before, we deserved Trump as a nation because we didn't do the things necessary, right? So I think a lot of it is fear. I think a lot of it is that they don't believe that the Democrats will stand up and show up at elections. They don't believe that independents will bother participating, those that have been disenfranchised. They feel like they can just cakewalk their way to fascism. And my rebuttal to that is to say, if that's the case, then we get what we deserve, and we become an authoritarian state. So the question then becomes, what do American citizens want to do?
But so then even I've been going back to how did we handle stuff like this in the past? Peaceful protests where we violate the law in a very minor way. Sit-ins, right? We go sit there and they arrest our young people, 18 to 22. And then it's not going to work now because Trump's going to say they were all crazy trannies with guns and we had to shoot them.
Let's be careful of that word, sir. Let's be very careful of that word.
My apologies. That's not my ideology. That's not what I believe in. That's just the rhetoric that I believe he'll use. He'll try to say crazy. Agreed. So he'll try to say that we're crazy. He'll try to say that we were the problem and that the peaceful protesters were not peaceful protesters. They were rioters. And the same way he describes Portland as a war-ravaged city. What war? What are you talking about? Right? And so even if we do a peaceful protest and our young people are getting shot by his Gestapo, right? He's just going to tell his base that we were in the wrong and we're crazy and they're going to believe him, right? And it's just I don't see a path. I don't see a path forward, but I'm not going to
keep fighting.
Yeah,
exactly. Got to keep fighting. Got to make sure you're involved, not just yourself, but your neighbors, your friends. We need to do everything. We need to do things that we never thought we were supposed to do or should have to do in our democracy, but that's what's necessary now. But thanks for jumping in today, Stryker. Keep the faith. Keep fighting. All right. See you later. Thanks a lot. Somebody said we did not deserve Trump. Yeah, we did. We did deserve him because we did not do enough to participate in our system. We allowed it to happen. We deserved it. We saw what happened the first time. We accepted what happened the first time as bullshit. And then an opportunity came to vote for Kamala Harris. And a lot of entitled leftists did not see her as perfect enough. So we absolutely deserved it. We deserved what we got. 77 million Americans said, I love fascism. I love autocracy. I love theocracy. I love Christian nationalism. And there wasn't enough people on the opposition side to say, yeah, no. I realize she may not be perfect, even though she was the most qualified person to ever run for the presidency. Full stop. Too many people said, yeah, I don't like the way she laughs, or misogynoir crept in there. Yeah, we got what we paid for, so to speak. That's how it works. We got what we paid for. Yep, white people failed. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. In particular, white men failed. And again, part of that conversation I was on last night with Santana and Erica Shante and numerous others, great creators. I was honored to be there. We talked about that a little bit, about how the political, the fragility of white men politically have led us to this. The fragility of white men in general. White men in America are the most privileged demographic to perhaps ever exist. I'm not talking about royalty, being born into royalty. I'm talking about here they are, the most privileged demographic to ever exist, and yet they complain about everything. The victims of what? Your own inadequacy? Victims of your own mediocrity? Victims of your own bullshit? Victims of your own fucking crap? You literally have everything. You are born into the pinnacle of privilege in our country, and you still fucking complain. You still bitch and moan. You still fucking whine like the mediocre babies that you are. Give me a fucking break. Grow the fuck up, will you please, for the first time? Grow the fuck up. I'm spicy today. Yes. I've been told spicy looks good on me, so I'll wear it. Marco, how are you today?
Good, and yourself?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, don't you think it's a little odd that all these shootings have been happening and they're trying to blame it on, like, trying to make it seem like it's the Democrats doing it because they're trying to attack the Republicans? But for me, I think it's the Republicans trying to blame it on the Democrats to make Trump look like, oh, he's a hero. He's almighty. He's not. He's a lunatic. He needs to freaking be in a lunatic place and they need to lock him up, lose the key, and keep him in there for life. Because we need to get him out.
We do. We do. It's going to take, I hate to even say this, but it's going to require some courage from Republicans to realize who the fuck he is and why the hell they're voting for it. But you're right, Marco. We know the studies have been done. The numerous examples of politically oriented violence come from the right. We know it. Thanks for jumping into. Go ahead.
One more thing, too. I heard a little bit of what he was talking about earlier on the press conference thing or whatever, saying that he cleaned up Chicago and there was not a lot of violence. We just had a shooting in South Carolina. We just had a shooting in Chicago, and it's saying that it's all good. It's like, come on, what the hell are you feeding your freaking people? It's like lies. Yeah. If it would have been good, then we wouldn't have shootings.
You're right. I appreciate you, Marco, for jumping in today, friend.
Thank you, and keep up the good work, man. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. See you later. On that topic, just real quick, these are the people. This is the alleged shooter in Michigan. This is the alleged shooter in North Carolina. There's a photograph of this gentleman with a Trump shirt. I'm just letting people know, not an immigrant, not a brown person, not a black person, not a trans person, definitely not an immigrant, not a woman. Nope. Palm colored. Yep. And this right here is Trump calls for a crackdown on the radical left, but most political violence comes from the right. We've been talking about this forever. This is from the Cato Institute, which is a right-leaning think tank. And as you can see, just look at the data. Murders by political ideology since 1975, excluding 9/11. That's the right. Radical Islam, as they say, this is the left. So there's that. People can deny it. I mean, good luck. And again, when you're in these debates with people, this is my ask. When you're in debates with these people, can you provide data that contradicts this? And they won't. So yesterday, for example, someone said, oh, you pulled up information from the Anti-Defamation League. No, The Anti-Defamation League was just one of like 40 organizations that said the same thing, that the overwhelming majority of politically oriented violence committed by people with right-leaning political ideologies and people who look like this. Just real quick, since I saw this, that's my 18-year-old girl today. That's when she was a little bit younger, but that's her. That happy kid. That's her again. Anywho, right-leaning political ideology responsible for the majority of crimes. Not only politically motivated, but crimes in general. Okay? The safest communities in America would be communities of immigrants. You're not safe. You're not as safe if you're in a community with people who look like that. Alleged North Carolina shooter, alleged Michigan shooter. Okay? I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. Do with it what you will. But when you're having those conversations with people, just remind them where the true crime's coming from. You just it's your, Dustin, if you want to make a claim, at least get the spelling right. In this case, you're just stereotyping would be Y-O-U''re. It's a contraction. You take two words and you blend them together. You are just stereotyping. You're just stereotyping. I know that may not track. So let's talk about it, Dustin. I just sent you an invite. I'm stereotyping. I would be curious about what I'd be curious about what I'm stereotyping. Am I stereotyping the picture? Am I stereotyping the evidence? So, Dustin, what am I stereotyping?
You're stereotyping the right as being crazy. Why don't you try owning the left's? Why don't you try owning the left's crazy shit that they've been pulling for the last fucking 2 years? Why don't you try putting that into perspective? The trans shooters, the school shooters, all these people that are on the left wing.
Dustin, what is this? What is this right here behind me?
Yeah, you're taking pictures and trying to make us look bad now.
Dustin, what is behind me?
First, the mental illness shootings. Try
Dustin, what is behind me?
A graph.
Okay, what does the graph say?
Right, 391.
Okay, so this is from the Cato Institute, which is a conservative think tank, by the way. Okay, this is a study going back to 1975. Murders by ideology and politically motivated terrorism. 391 from the right, 65 from the left. Are you disputing this?
I'm not going to dispute that because it's a graph. It's got whatever numbers on it. You know, that's great.
Okay.
School shootings and what's really been going on lately, though.
So how many school shootings have been perpetrated by a member of the trans community?
The school shooters as of late.
Dustin,
what do they have?
Dustin, how many have been perpetrated by people that identify as trans? How many?
How many?
Yeah.
Just in this last year and a half, 2 years?
No, how many? And how many total?
Pretty much all of them. You want me to go Google it and fucking go that route?
Pretty much all of them. So the kid in Colorado was trans?
I'm not saying for sure every one of them was.
You just said pretty much all of them.
One of them has mental health issues. That's the real problem. That is the real. Just boil it down to mental health issues, bud.
So what is your party doing about mental health issues?
Guns, bro. I own
Sorry?
guns, and never once has any of those thoughts ever crossed my mind.
Good for you.
Somebody picks up a gun and goes and shoots up a school, they are mentally ill. When somebody picks up a gun and goes and shoots up a church and blows up the front doors, they are mentally ill. It doesn't matter.
So why would we? Wouldn't it? So I would agree with you that there's some mental health issues there. Then why would we make it easier for people who've got mental health conditions to purchase firearms?
Make guns illegal even more so if it's a mental health issue. Let's go after the real problem.
Which is what?
No problem. You think you can really take every gun off the street, or are you going to take a gun out of every?
Dustin, have I ever made a claim that I want to take firearms off the street? Because liberals own firearms as well. I own firearms.
You want to go into a full-on reform debate, or do you want to go?
Did you hear what I said?
Right, fucking debate. I don't care. I'm just.
Did you hear what I said?
Very clear. People.
Did you hear what I said?
Health issues. Taking guns
Dustin,
is not going to solve shit.
Dustin, does mental health only exist in America?
No, it doesn't. It exists everywhere.
Okay, so why don't other countries have the same levels of violence, gun violence, that we have here?
I have no idea. Why would they have the same level of gun violence? I mean,
let's try to think about this logically for a second, okay, Justin? Let's try to think about this logically. I don't know what you're doing, but you're making a lot of background noise, so maybe you could just sit for just a second, okay? So if can we agree that mental health is a problem globally? Can we agree with that?
Yeah, it definitely is.
Okay, so if mental health is a problem globally, and mental health is a problem here, and yet the number one cause of death for children between the ages of 1 and 18 is firearms, then what would be the common thread in why we have so many firearm-related deaths in America?
I would have to say, if anything, it would be an irresponsible gun owner.
Okay, so again, but still about the gun, though. So would you agree that there are more guns than people in our country?
House are locked up tight.
Okay, Dustin, you know what? I agree with you. Then we need to make it a law that every firearm owner has to pass a test. Would you agree with that?
We do pass a test.
No, we don't. Not in every state.
Not in every state. Okay. Are regardless?
So do you want to know? For example, do you want to know what I want? You want to know what I want for firearm reform? Have you ever even asked a liberal or a progressive what they want, or are you just assuming it?
Because every Democrat that sits in the House says ban.
No, that's not true, Dustin. That's not true. That's what you've been told. Why don't you ask me? Hey, Steve, what would you like to see for responsible firearm legislation? Ask me.
What do you guys want for responsible firearm legislation?
I want universal background checks, which is the same in every state, from Maine to Alaska, a federalized system where it's exactly the same. Would you agree with that?
I mean, pretty much, yeah. I mean,
you would agree with that. Cool. Okay. I also believe in red flag laws in all 50 states, the exact same. Would you agree with that?
To an extent, yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's 2 for 2. Have you heard me talk about bans at all yet?
Not yet.
Okay. So I also believe that we should have safe storage laws, which I think you agreed with. The same in all 50 states. Would you agree with that?
Yes, without somebody having to come in and fucking look at my house.
Well, how would you enforce it, though?
Well, I definitely still don't want anybody in my house, bro.
That's not the question I asked you. That's not the question I asked. I asked you, how would you enforce it?
My personal space and see how I live, and that's not okay.
Okay, so, all right, I don't know what you're afraid of, but let's back up for a second. So you said you would agree with safe storage laws.
Safe storage law is, hey, keep it in the safe. That's it. You know what I mean?
Let's not go too far down the road of how we execute it, Dustin. We've agreed on universal background checks from all 50 states. We've agreed for the most part on red flag laws. You told me you agreed with safe storage laws. I also think a responsible solution would be to register your firearm. Would you agree with that?
All my guns are registered, bud.
Registered with whom?
With whom? California.
Yeah.
I live in California. I cannot own it without having registration on my firearms.
Great, but not every state has that same requirement.
Registered is the ones that my great-great-grandfather handed down to me.
Dustin, not every state requires that, though, right?
So point out which ones don't require it.
Many don't. My state doesn't.
What state is that?
Vermont.
Vermont.
Many states don't. Many states don't. When I'm talking about registering, we're talking about background checks, and registering would mean you can't go, like, no straw man purchases, for example, gun show loopholes, things like that.
Yeah, not every gun show's like that. Maybe in some states. I can't walk out here without any fucking kind of...
I understand that, but we're talking about trying to make responsible decisions. So the laws being the same in every state, because you can go to certain states and then leave the state and go to a state that doesn't have the same firearm laws and then bring it back into the state. So we're talking about trying to find solutions here. So we've agreed so far: universal background checks, red flag laws, registration, and insurance.
So how are you going to stop guns coming in from all these other lower countries and upper countries? That's where 90% of these illegal guns...
Actually, that's not true. The majority of firearms that end up in Mexico come from the U.S. We export more firearms to them than they export to us. That's the data. So let's stay on track. Let's stay on topic here. You and I agreed that mental health exists everywhere. You and I agreed that there's a problem in our country. Do you disagree with the fact that firearms are the number one cause of death for children between the ages of 1 and 18?
I would have to disagree in a sense, yeah.
So what do you mean in a sense?
In a sense that I don't have anything to look at right in front of me. So you're like, you want me to go in front of my computer and start Googling all this stuff so we can go tit for tat like that? Like,
how about you take my word for it? I've studied this stuff. CDC, NIH, Department of Justice, they all say the same thing. The number one cause of death for children between the ages of 1 and 18 in our country are firearms. That includes homicides, school shootings, mass shootings, and self-unalivings. Can you accept that as truth?
I almost guarantee it.
You say it's not?
I just said I bet drunk drivers kill more children than guns do.
It's actually not true. It's not true. Okay? The number one cause of death for children between the ages of 1 and 18. What source would you like me to use? Come back on the live, Dustin, because I can't talk to you when you're teacupping. Dustin, you got to come back. Let's just look it up. What is the number one cause of death in children ages 1 through 18? According to the CDC's National Vital Statistics System, the number one cause of death for children and adolescents ages 1 to 18 in the U.S. is firearms, gun-related injuries, including homicides, self-unalivings, and accidental shootings. Number 1 is firearms. Number 2 is motor vehicle crashes. Number 3 is cancer. Number 4 is drug overdoses and poisonings. And number 5 is congenital and or chronic diseases.
The number one killer in my Google was cancer.
Okay, what did you search for? It's not your Google, it's Google.
Same thing, word for word that you said.
The number one cause of death in children ages 1 to 18. Search that up.
That's what I searched. And number one cause was cancer.
Pull up your screen. Turn your camera on. Show me your screen.
See if I can even fucking do it.
I'll send you an invite. You may not have camera access. Again, the leading cause of death for children aged and adolescents aged 1 through 18 in the United States is firearms. Number 1 is firearms, including homicide, suicide, and unintentional. Number 2 is motor vehicle crashes. Number 3 is cancer. Number 4 is drug overdoses, and number 5 is congenital and or chronic diseases. Will, you're wrong about children rarely getting cancer. That's not true. There's lots of incidents of childhood cancer. Too many, in fact. So, Dustin, can you come back? Okay. So, number 1 cause of death, firearms. So, what we're trying to do is we're trying to prevent that from happening. So, as a society, don't you think it's a society's responsibility to kind of evolve as things evolve?
Yeah, I do. I definitely involving, but
okay. So we had an incident where people were dying in cars. What did we do as a society?
we're definitely not going to ban cars.
It's not what I said. Just stay. Don't go too far ahead. What did we do as a society when we realized that people were dying in car accidents?
We made drinking and driving illegal.
Seatbelts. We made cars safer, right?
Not really.
Seatbelts.
Idiots.
Not really?
People are still idiots. I mean,
yes, Dustin, but did we or did we not make cars safer?
There's fucking hundreds of accidents to first grade. I mean,
Dustin, listen, bro. Just listen to the question I'm asking you. Listen. Did we or did we not make cars safer?
Not really. Yeah, but I mean,
we didn't?
That was like the coolest thing ever. And
we put seatbelts in cars, right? We put seatbelts in cars. We made it mandatory for car seats. We installed airbags, safety systems. So a society recognized that there was a problem with car accidents and people dying. So what did we decide to do? We made them safer. We regulated them.
But you know what you also
So once again, Dustin, the number one, now that you've looked it up and confirmed it, the number one cause of death for children in our country between the ages of 1 and 18 are firearms. So I would like society to respond to that.
Educated people with cars. You know what's missing in our education system now?
Dustin, no, we're not going to pivot, bro. We're going to stay on topic here, okay? Again, we agreed on universal background checks. We agreed on red flag laws. We agreed on registration. We agreed on insurance. That's what I also believe that we should bring back the assault weapons ban because it was effective, but I don't think we have to go that far. I'm talking about a universal system to address the issue. And I would also support legislation that funds access to mental health care. That's not something that your party supports.
So bring back gun education. Do you not hear what I'm saying? You educate people on everything else, but you got rid of gun education. And then the gun shootings go way up. People don't understand guns. People don't
gun shootings went way down, Dustin, when we had the assault weapons ban. They went way down.
This totally went around what I just said. You're not even.
No, I did. Well, you keep cutting out, so it's hard to hear you. Can you stay? Are you doing something because you keep cutting in and out?
I just probably have terrible service where I'm at.
Okay. So again, universal background checks, you agreed. Red flag laws, you agreed. Insurance and registration, you agreed.
Gun education.
How does that help, though? What does that do? Does that limit people getting access?
There's driver's education. Why not have gun education still?
We have driver insurance and registration. Why not have gun registration and insurance? Don't you have to prove that you're insured?
As a responsible gun owner, I have to.
Are you responsible? Are you responsible? Yeah, but again, the laws are different in every state.
Why don't every gun owner has to do gun education? Like that would help.
Fine, sure, no problem. Every state though has to be in every state.
Okay, so put every kid through gun education again. Bring it back.
But why? But why do you need to do? Let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about that for a second. Let's speak about this honestly. Are you saying we should force every kid to go through gun education?
No, I think that it should be an elective though.
Not funded by taxpayer dollars.
Driver's ed is.
Is it? No, it's not. Depends where you live.
It's in school.
Depends. Not every school.
School.
Not in every school.
See the school one that doesn't offer driver's education as an elective.
My daughter's school did not.
What, her elementary school?
No, her high school. You don't take driver's ed in elementary school, my guy.
Like, what school really doesn't offer driver's education? That's crazy.
Many.
It's
look at Texas schools don't. I paid $175 for my daughter to get her driver's license. So again, this is my concern, Dustin. Let me put it this way. You said you own 100 firearms right now, right? Yeah. Okay. So do you have kids?
Yeah, and every one of them's been through hunter safety.
I'm not asking about that. Okay. If you knew that you could guarantee that one of your children would not be unalived in a school shooting, would you give up your firearms right now?
If I could what?
If you could guarantee, okay, that one of your kids would not be shot in a school shooting, would you be willing to give up all of your firearms to guarantee that wouldn't happen?
To guarantee that my kids don't go and do a school shooting?
No, be victims of.
Oh, God, dude. Like, that is such a fucking push this guy against the wall fucking question.
Is it really? Would you throw yourself in front of a bus to save your daughter's life or your son's life?
I mean,
Would you?
I think that we could do more in our schools to protect our
Dustin, would you throw yourself in front of a bus to protect your kid's life?
Yeah, I would.
If your kid needed a heart transplant, would you give them your heart?
I'm still not giving my guns up. Period.
Of course you're not, because you're a pathetic piece of fucking shit. Goodbye. Can you imagine? Simple question. It's a simple question. It's really, really simple. Give up his heart. If this kid needed a heart transplant, throw himself in front of a bus to protect his kids. Real, simple question. Would you give up your firearms to, again, ensure your child's safety? I'm not giving up my guns. Because white conservative men are the biggest fucking pussies I have ever experienced in my life. The biggest fucking cowards I have ever met. They talk a fucking good game. They talk about how heroic they want to be. They get their fucking they get their fucking micro dick hard on, thinking that they're fucking Rambo. And you're asked a simple question. A simple fucking question. Would you give it up to protect your kids? No, I'm not giving up my guns. Do you sleep with all 100? What a fucking joke. What a joke.
Hello, it's your neighborhood GV survivor.
Hi, how you doing? By the way, I saw you last night swing by Santana's live, so thank you for swinging on in. I'm not sure if you ever made it up on the panel, but I had to go to sleep.
I think once or twice. I'm supposed to be up on Wednesday night.
Nice.
Very late for me because I get up at 6, so it's going to be.
Yeah, I get up at 4, so I got like 2 hours of sleep last night. But whatever, it's not a contest.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, I just shameless.
Can you drive for a second? I just got to take a quick little break. I'll be right back. Can you drive?
Yeah,
you good?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. So the interesting thing that previous guest said that I just wanted to address lots of things actually, but for him to say so strongly that mental health is the issue and that's what we should be focusing on, but then at the same time, if we just train children on safety and usage and all that for GUNs, is that going to suddenly take away the mental health issues that cause them to do these things? Or will it make them more efficient unaliving machines like we've seen? Just wondering if just because you're trained and aware of how to use, that means that you're not going to do something insane. Doesn't make sense to me at all. And the research on pew pew training for children is problematic because children just don't retain the information that they learn at the same rate that adults do, and they often are impulsive and disregard the things that they've learned, especially if they're in a mental health crisis. So that doesn't make much sense to me, but Steve, while you were gone, I just said he was saying that the biggest problem is mental health and that's what we need to focus on, and was very strong about that, but then at the same time advocating that all children learn usage and safety for firearms. But is that going to take away the mental health issues that he claims are causing these things just because they know how to use them?
Of course not.
Right. So that's where I feel like it's not a solution.
I think two things can be true. I mean, I think we need to actually heavily invest in access to mental health services. No doubt about it. It's not going to solve every problem, but if that's the argument that the right wants to make, that it's about mental health, then why did I spend an hour and a half this morning going through the cuts that they want to make to healthcare?
Right. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, to say that is the issue, and I don't disagree that is a large control. Like, nobody who has actually studied firearm violence, like you have, I have, etc., believes there's one factor, right?
Exactly.
They want to entirely eliminate the factor of the firearm itself. That's ridiculous. Correct. That's probably the largest factor. There are other factors. There is mental health. There is poverty. There is social media. There's all kinds of different things that play into the reason why these things happen.
Sure.
But just saying that, like, well, we just need to, like, give training on usage and safety is not going to eliminate those other factors.
Nope. And because we can't fix the entire system regarding social media, healthcare, et cetera, the common thread is guns. Period.
Yeah, and I'm going to say something. I have to go. I have a doctor's appointment. But I'm going to say something sad and a trigger warning for what I'm about to say. I apologize, but this is the reality of firearm violence in our country. Okay. My father threw himself in front of a firearm that was aimed at me, and he lost his life. And he would do it again, I'm sure. And to hear a father say that he would not give up his firearms to save his children's lives, when my dad gave up his very life, I'm positive he would have given up everything he owned. And it would be a heck of a lot better if he could give those up and still be here. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
It's hard to hear that. It's hard to hear that. But yeah, that's the reality. You know, I've been living without him for 30 years. I have PTSD. And it changed our lives forever. So that's the reality. And there's thousands and millions of us. And you probably see people like that and you don't know that they've been through that. But there's a lot of them. A lot.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I love you. I love you very much.
Love you too. Thanks. See you guys later. Bye, chat.
See you soon. Bye, Amber. Amber's got quite a story. And by the way, I want to play. I was looking for this clip because this is from claims made by Spencer Cox, claims made by our previous guest, claims made by the president, claims made by a whole bunch of people regarding about members of the trans community and them committing violence. So this gentleman's name is, I don't know. I cannot find his name. Hang on a second. I'm just going to play this because this addresses exactly what this conversation started, because our previous guest, not Amber, but had talked about the recent unalivings. So this is entitled "Debunking Anti-Trans Claims in the Wake of Charlie Kirk's Death."
Most absurd speculation was this from the president's eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., who was a friend of Charlie Kirk.
I can't frankly name a mass shooting in the last year or two in America that wasn't committed by a transgender lunatic that's been pumped up on probably hormones since they were 3-year-olds.
Don Jr. can't name a mass shooting not conducted by a transgender person? Okay, a quick fact check on that. Experts say that transgender people may have been responsible for 7 out of 4,147 mass shootings from 2018 to 2025, a rate of less than 1/5 of 1%. For context, transgender people represent around 1% of the American population, so they are 5 times less likely than anybody else to be a shooter, Don. Among the most...
So there you go. 7 out of 4,147 under-indexed based on their population, how much they represent the population. It's just an attempt to other people. And I am It still blows me away that the God-fearing, family-oriented MAGA cult, when faced with a hypothetical, would you give up your 100 firearms? What are you overcompensating for? Would you give up your 100 firearms if you could guarantee that your children would not be victims in a school shooting? And his answer was nope, unapologetically. Yeah. And just as a reminder, oops, sorry. Love you, sweetheart. Just as a reminder, these two handsome gentlemen, the alleged Michigan shooter and the alleged North Carolina shooter, not trans, not an immigrant, not black, not a woman. Nope. Fits the bill. Fits the description. Falls into this particular trap right here. These categories. Far-right extremists. Overwhelming. Overwhelming. It's not even close. Separatists, foreign nationalists, the left is radical Islam. This is the right. YT supremacists, this is the reporting. We've got this. This is the data. This is why we do the work. Okay? So we can confront this bullshit because people will not believe the reality. The National Institute of Justice, this is the same data. This is the Cato Institute, the Anti-Defamation League, Southern Poverty Law Council, the CDC, the FBI, the DHS, numerous other organizations. Upwards of 50 organizations reported on the same thing. Militant, nationalistic, YT supremacist, violent extremism has increased in the United States. In fact, the number of far-right attacks continues to outpace all other types of terrorism and domestic violent extremism. Since 1990, far-right extremists have committed far more ideologically motivated homicides than far-left or radical Islamist extremists combined, including 227 events that took more than 520 lives. In the same period, far-left extremists committed 42 ideologically motivated attacks that took 78 lives. Over the past 20 years, the body of research that examines terrorism and domestic violent extremism has grown exponentially. Studies have looked at the similarities and differences between radicalization to violent domestic ideologies and radicalization to foreign extreme ideologies. Research has found that radicalization processes and outcomes and perhaps potential prevention and intervention points to various groups, but identified the right as the main source of violent extremism. I can't help people understand this more than the reality. Larry, how are you today?
Hey, good morning, Steve. Thank you for letting me up.
Sure.
I appreciate you talking about this subject right now because that's what I've been telling people that I talk to is we need to be putting these facts out because of the president of the United States is going on live TV and saying all the violence is on the left. And then he's saying that there's targeted attacks on Christians and you know, stuff like that. And, you know, if we don't, like saying Antifa is a terrorist organization, we need to stand up proud and say, I am Antifa. You know, that's how right. I feel. Two things I want you to talk about it if you can, if you get is if you want to know what's going on in America, it's Christo-fascism.
Yep.
And if you want to know what's going on in Gaza, look up the Great Trust. Because the board he set up yesterday, that's what they're going to be over, is that this Great Trust. It's a 10-year program. Of course, Donald Trump is going to be in control. So just if you get a chance, just look those up and talk about that one time if you don't mind. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Larry. Thanks for that reminder, friend. And thanks for your support. Thanks for jumping in. I appreciate you, brother. Have a good day. Be safe out there.
Thank you.
Somebody made a comment. I'll give this to Cadillac. Steve, women are the least likely to mass pew people. Talk about roles we teach our sons versus our girls. Women are the least likely to mass pew people. No doubt about it. The roles that we teach our sons versus girls, society. I've mentioned this before. I was on this live last night because this relates to this topic with Santana and a bunch of other amazing creators. And we were talking about, toxic masculinity and red pilling and the patriarchy and the misogyny. I have gone 10 toes down, and I will again, that I was born into a system that created by people who look like me, to benefit people who look like me, to protect people who look like me, and to support that cycle over and over and over and over and over again. Right? So a system that's constructed to support white men in particular certainly is not doing white men any favors. Let's be honest. Like I've said this before, the patriarchy is obviously extremely damaging to women, but it's also extremely damaging to men. And part of the theme that I took last night was recognizing that, first of all, for it's that I'm advantaged by a system just because of what I look like and just because of who I am. Cis, white, hetero men in America are the most privileged demographic to ever exist in humankind, as far as I'm concerned. Add Christian in there, and you even get another notch up on the list. The question is, what do we do about it? We look at other cultures around the country, around the world that are led by women. Their societies they just look different because they prioritize things that shouldn't matter. They prioritize education. They prioritize public safety. They prioritize public health. They prioritize affordability, because those are all things that we all struggle with. I think by and large, women have more empathy than men do. Women and femme-presenting people have more empathy by and large than men do. I don't think I don't think that's debatable, right? And because our society, our leadership, especially now, doesn't give a fuck. Even Charlie Kirk, people just canonize this guy, want to martyr him. And he said that empathy is just a bullshit word. It's just made up. So what does society teach our men? Society teaches young men that the only emotions you can show publicly are anger and lust. That locker room talk is okay. That to achieve things in life requires you to just do whatever the fuck you want. And that once you attain status, you can just grab women by the pussy. Once you attain celebrity and fame, no matter what it took for you to get there, the rules don't apply to you. Because you'll be protected in a system. You'll be protected by other YT men. You'll be protected by other predators. You guys can all swim. You can swim in the same predatory waters as everybody else and hunt. You become predators. Animal kingdom. Who's your next target? Who's your next victim? Who's your next prey? I want a matriarchy. That's what I want. I want to see what that looks like before I die. I want a country that prioritizes the things that should matter, that prioritizes people over profit, kindness and empathy over destruction and fascism, public health, investments in education, investments in food safety programs. You're not going to get that, by and large, from white men, because it doesn't make them feel superior. God forbid it would be considered equitable or inclusive or diverse. So we get this. We get people acting out. We get people seeking out other organizations. Have you ever struggled with the idea that we may not see that in our lives. Yeah, poetic, I do, brother. I do struggle with it. And I wish that weren't the case. You know? I wish that weren't the case. But sadly it is. So the question is where's the appetite to change it? We had an opportunity to elect the most qualified person to ever run for the presidency. And for whatever factors, yes, I know there's some nefarious activity. I get all that. But if people had shown up and voted and overwhelmed the polls, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So people on the left decided that they couldn't, I didn't really like her laugh, or Gaza, or she aligned a little bit too closely with Joe Biden. Yeah, I'm just going to sit this one out. And a lot of people in marginalized communities have decided that since they did not participate in democracy, things are really, really bad. So they just packed up their shit and left. Just abandoning people that they say that they care about. Every fucking time democracy's under threat, black women show up. Not anymore. Where the fuck are the rest of us? This is going to continue because the system of power protects these people. Protects them. We have the president of the United States who's a 34-time convicted felon, pardoning people who overthrew the government, attempted to, protecting other predators. This is arguably the largest sex trafficking ring that's ever existed. We have no idea how deep it goes. There's talk about Supreme Court justices, other members of the cabinet, celebrities, sports stars. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck who's on the list. Fundamental difference between people on the left and people on the right. People on the right always thought, because they were told this, always thought that the Epstein list included the people that they were told to hate. The Hollywood elites, the deep state, the Clintons, whomever else. And we're like, we don't give a fuck. There's likely some of those names that are on there. Abso-fucking-lutely. That's why we want all the information. That's why we want it. That's why we want all the information to go public. We're not protecting anybody. But you are. Members of Congress, a member of Congress has yet to be sworn in, unless that's happened since I don't know about it. An elected member of Congress, duly elected, won by over 40 points in the Arizona special election to replace her dad. Congresswoman-elect Grijalva. Mike Johnson threatening to delay that so they can put more pressure on members of the GOP to not let the list go public. A system built by people who look like me to benefit people who look like me to protect people who look like me. And the circle fucking continues. Over and over and over and over and over again. Who wins? Privileged white people? Start there. Privileged white men start. White men are next. White people are after that. Start accepting the fucking reality. How is it that you can ask a person? First of all, somebody brags about having over 100 firearms. Simple question. We made progress in that call. We made progress. We found common ground in universal background checks. With some reluctance, we got there. We found common ground on red flag laws. We found common ground on insurance or registering, as long as people weren't coming into his house. I don't know who the fuck he's afraid of. But the simple, I even asked the pointed questions. I even asked this. Would you give your kid your heart? Absolutely. Would you throw yourself in front of a truck to save your kid's life? Absolutely. Would you give up your firearms if it meant you could guarantee that they wouldn't be murdered in a fucking classroom? No, bridge too far. What? What? What the fuck are we talking about? Like, what the fuck are we even talking about? There's no tax policy that matters more than that. Good morning, Beverly. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing good, Steve. I just want to appreciate you. You always have such good information. I just wanted to share something. I was having a conversation this morning with my husband who's, unfortunately all on the MAGA side of it. And was specifically where we're talking about this upcoming, meeting with all the military, and Pete Hegseth's disgusting comments, really focused on women in the military. And, I was expressing my frustration. I survived the Las Vegas mass shooting 8 years ago tomorrow. And I look at all of these events that have happened since then, and nothing's gotten better. No one seems to care. And now with the hate and the division in this country, and a president and an administration who does nothing to even try to bring down that temperature, I was just saying how angry I was and how upset I was that now with the military, going to fire anybody who, doesn't agree with his stance, how scared I was for our country, that it wasn't just about me and my little spot in the world or his spot in the world. You look at things like 9/11 and things like that happen, and how scary it makes me feel for our country. And he said to me, his response was, well, what are we going to do about it? We can't do anything about it. So, you might as well stop complaining. You just got to. And then he went directly to Biden. So I feel like every time we bring up sometimes facts to people, or like what's happening right now, they'll go right back to, oh, well, Biden did this, and I said to him, Biden is not here any longer. Like, that's done and over. Good, bad, whatever he did, he's not here. And our country is falling apart. And if we don't speak up, just because we feel comfortable in our own little spot, then what's going to happen? Like, what's going to happen? We have to speak up.
You're right. You're right. And now we're being told that if we speak up, we're a threat to democracy. And it's all part of the game. It's all, you're right, Beverly. It's got to be a difficult situation that you're in your personal life, but we have to speak up. This is why I end the show every day by saying, do something. We have to. We have no choice. They don't expect us to. They want to put pressure on us and intimidate us so that we won't. So we have to resist, though. We have to.
Right. And my last point is, we talked a little bit about, the shutdown and, the blame game that's going to go on. Yes, it will be difficult, but I absolutely 100% believe it should be shut down. I just do. I just do. I think we're in this position. They didn't even the Republicans didn't even come back to, even supposedly have a vote if anything could have been worked out, because they knew this was going to happen. And I just think we have to, because if we don't, things are just going to, I don't know how they can be worse, but it will be worse. So anyway, I appreciate all your facts. It's been a tough week. 4 mass shootings in a 24-hour period. And what's interesting, and I'll leave on this, is what's interesting, with those two that you specifically brought up, Michigan and, the Carolina.
North Carolina. Yeah.
You notice they didn't immediately go to radical left wing,
of course not.
Liberals, because they knew.
Of course not.
They absolutely knew for a fact.
Of course, and no different about the situation. There's no different about the situation in Utah as well, because he was indoctrinated by his upbringing. But Beverly, thank you for jumping in. Just good to talk to you again. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks.
Bye. You got it. Have a good day. See you later.
You too.
Okay. Yeah, they didn't bother to didn't want to talk about that publicly. Good morning, Tara. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, I was watching you having a discussion with another gentleman, and you keep bringing this up, the fact that you asked him if it would guarantee that his child wasn't a victim of a school shooting, would he give up all his guns? And since he said no, you immediately, belittled him, called him a pussy, said he had a micro penis, and kicked him.
It's true. It's true.
But so That is
I stand by those. I stand by those statements.
Okay. Well, I disagree. Can I give you my reasons why without being interrupted?
Well, let me ask you the same question. Are you a firearm owner?
Are you going to kick me if I answer the same way as he did?
Guess we'll find out. Are you a firearms owner?
I'm going to go ahead with my point. So,
no, actually, that's not how this works, Tara. Tara, that's not how this works.
To ensure my child didn't get in a school shooting, how am I going to guarantee his safety for the rest?
Okay, I got her, Sam. Thank you, though. So here's the thing, Tara. The question is really simple. Okay, this is what, and I want you to answer this question. Okay, you can turn off. You can unmute your mic. It's a really simple question. The question was, if you could guarantee your children would not be killed in a school shooting event,
I understand.
Would you give up? So that's the question. Okay.
My child is way more likely to be a victim of some other type of violence. It doesn't guarantee his safety for the rest of his life.
That's not the question. That's not the question. Let's try to focus on the question, okay? The question is...
that is a single instance.
Tara,
no,
again,
I would not give up my right to protect him for the rest of his life.
So you're a piece of shit too.
No, it's called protecting yourself.
No, you're a piece of shit.
How am I supposed to protect my child without a firearm if somebody were to try to take him? I'm 5'2".
Has anybody ever tried to take him?
Has he been in a school shooting? No.
I'm asking you. Has anybody ever, Tara, has anybody ever tried to take him?
I have almost been taken myself.
We're not talking about you. You're talking about your kid. The number one cause of death in America for children
not school shootings. It's not school shootings.
I didn't say school shootings. I didn't say school shootings.
That's what you're using, though.
No, it's firearms.
You're saying, will you give up your weapons to ensure that he doesn't get shot in a school shooting? Now you're pivoting. That is not the same debate.
Tara, you have to stop talking. The claim, and I've been consistent with this claim the entire time, the number one cause of death for children in America between the ages of 1 and 18 are firearms. That's
then
the
why
number
are you
one,
using the school shooting?
I'm not done talking. The number one cause of death is firearms, ages 1 to 18. The question I asked, because children are being murdered in schools, the question I asked is, if you could guarantee that your child would not be a victim of a school shooting, would you give up your firearms?
That doesn't guarantee his safety for the rest of the time that he's not in school.
Tara,
that's such a dumb question.
What are you afraid of?
I'm afraid of people, dude. I'm 5'2". You have no idea the shit that's happened to me in my life. Thank God I have a way to protect myself. You're a man. You can use your fists. I cannot.
It's Tara. It's what's referred to as a hypothetical. Okay,
it's a dumb-ass hypothetical.
No, I can't control your anger. Okay, it's a simple question.
Because you're saying if I don't give up my weapons to ensure that my child doesn't become a victim of a school shooting, that I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's a rigged, stupid fucking hypothetical. It's bullshit.
I don't know why you're so angry.
Because you're over here spewing nothing but hate and talking about, white men this, white men that. What about people? What about women that can't protect ourselves? What about my fucking rights?
What about this? What about that? What about the fact that the number one cause of death for children in America between the ages of 1 and 18 are firearms? What are your solutions?
I agree with a lot of the stuff that you said. I think that, yes, there should be background checks. I agree with that. There should be red flag laws. I agree with that. We agree on a lot of points. The thing that really upset me was you vote for somebody, but you vote for Tara. Just because
you vote for a party that doesn't support that. Tara,
do you really think that if all law-abiding people turned in their weapons, that there would be no more gun violence?
Did I ever?
If I would give up all my weapons? That's what you asked.
Because that's you. I asked you specifically. I'm a firearm owner.
When I said no, you automatically call me a piece of shit. So what am I inferring wrong here?
Because I think you are.
Why?
Let me explain it to you. Okay.
See, you say that people should turn in their weapons, but then you go, I'm not saying turn your weapons in. But if you don't
Tara,
turn your weapons in, you're a piece
Tara,
of shit. But I'm also not saying
Tara,
that. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You're not even making a sound argument.
Stop talking
You're just
so I
spewing
can finish.
hate.
Tara, let me finish my point, or you can leave. It's really up to you. My argument is people who claim that they would do anything to protect their children. I asked a simple question in the same logic. I asked him if he would give up his heart for his kid. He said he would. I asked him if he'd throw himself in front of a bus if he would for his kid. He said he would. I'll ask you the same questions. Would you give up your heart for your children?
Yes, I would.
Would you throw yourself in front of a bus for your kid?
Absolutely.
Okay, so then that would be something that you would do to
That
guarantee there's.
his
I'm not done
safety,
talking.
period.
I'm not done talking. I'm not done talking. You, the guarantee of their safety. The hypothetical that I gave is if you could guarantee your children would not be victims of a school shooting, would you give up your firearms? And you're saying no. So therefore, yes, you are a pathetic piece of shit.
You're a pathetic piece of shit. You know,
I have the
there
evidence
are
on my
other
side.
reasons that we have firearms. What if we
Like
get
what?
invaded? Y'all are going to
Oh my
wish
God.
that we would fucking protect
Who the fuck are you afraid
What
of?
if
Who's
the
going to invade
government
us?
decides to turn against its people? That's what the Constitution was there.
No.
It was made for.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it
It's a lie.
actually was.
No, it's
so
not.
that we can protect ourselves, period.
No, you're wrong.
Foreign
You want to
and
know why?
domestic.
Do you want to know why I know you're wrong?
Tell me why.
Okay, so are you under the belief that the Second Amendment was established so that the U.S. citizens can rise up against the government?
No, it's not rise up against the government. No, that's not what I said.
Okay, what is it then? What is your claim?
I said, if we were invaded, how are we supposed to protect ourselves? Or
and then you said the federal government. Okay.
Yes, if the government turns on its own people, how are we supposed to protect ourselves?
So because there's this little thing called
that's not the only reason to have a firearm. Like I said, I cannot protect myself like a grown.
You have to stop. What you fail to realize that there's a thing called Article 3, Section 3, which is the treason clause. If you take up arms against the government, it's an act of treason. And if you're convicted of treason in our country, you're executed. So you're wrong about that. I'm just asking you if you can just step back and think for a second what you've said here today. You live in this fantasy world, and I really, to be honest, I don't give a fuck if you don't like being called a piece of shit, because I think a parent that is not willing to do everything within their power, even hypothetically, to protect their kids are pieces of shit. I don't give a fuck if you don't like it. You can leave.
So
I would ask you to. I would ask you to think. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. I would ask you to think about what you said there, because you said you would give up your heart. You said you would give up you throw yourself in front of a bus.
Oh God, I've heard this argument from you. Like for the past 30 minutes. I get your point, dude. I get it.
But you don't do it. But you're unwilling to do it. That makes you a coward.
Can I ask you a hypothetical?
Sure.
Okay. If someone was coming, hypothetically, to snatch my child, how am I supposed to protect them if I've turned in all of my weapons to guarantee that he will not be a victim in a school shooting? I've done that. I've thrown myself in front of the bus. Now I have no weapons. How am I going to save my child? Because Tara, you live in an environment. No. Answer me.
I'm answering.
Don't pivot.
Tara, I'm answering your question.
I'm listening.
You have been conditioned to think that something like that. I'm not done. Tara, if you interrupt me again, I'm just going to kick you. I'm answering your question.
No,
you need to listen. Yes, I am. You live in an environment where you've been conditioned that something like that is going to happen. It doesn't happen.
Sex trafficking of children does not happen.
Oh, so now it's sex trafficking. So you want the Epstein list released, right?
Pivot. You never answered my question. How am I going to protect my child?
I was trying to answer your question. Okay. I'll try one more time. You either stay on mute or don't talk so I can answer the question. You've been conditioned to think that the scenario you just described is something you need to worry about every single day. on the converse side, mass unaliving events and school shootings pretty much happen every week in America. So the threat is not about your kid being snatched off the playground. The threat is your kid losing their life in school. That's the threat. That is the threat. And I don't understand why
We're speaking hypotheticals, though. You did not answer my hypothetical question.
I absolutely fucking did.
So how am I supposed to protect him? All you said is that's not a real threat. That's not an answer to how am I supposed to protect him.
Did you hear me ever say that I think we should get rid of firearms? Did you hear me say that?
You're not answering my question.
How
am I supposed to protect him? I have given up the hypothetical.
What are you
the
afraid
full
of?
Hypothetical.
What are you afraid
I have
of?
given my weapons up, like
Tara,
you said,
what are
so
you
that
afraid
he
of?
would not be. Honey, I almost got snatched myself.
Don't call me honey. Don't call me honey.
What are you afraid of? Myself. I have been raped 3 different times. I'm been molested as a child by 3 different people, one of which was in my home. So you're telling me that that's not a real threat? Are you fucking kidding me? I've been conditioned? No, it's happened to me. I'm a victim of sexual assault.
I'm sorry. Why are you yelling?
Because you're telling me that this is all in my fucking head, dude. No, this has happened to me. This is my real life.
And who do you vote for?
That is not a make-believe threat. That shit is real. There are bad people out there that want to do bad things to children.
And who do you vote for?
Don't even. Don't you fucking even.
Who do you vote for?
Go back and answer my fucking hypothetical.
Who do you vote for, Tara?
I'm still waiting on an answer to my hypothetical other than it's in my fucking head. Was it in my head when the dude held me down and raped me? Was that in my head?
Who do you vote for?
Answer my question first and I'll answer yours. You fucking piece of shit.
Okay. So you voted for Trump, but I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Answer my question.
I don't take orders from you.
You can't. You fucking can't.
Yeah,
You're going to sit here and talk to a woman who has been assaulted multiple times and tell me that this is all in my head? That I've been conditioned? Do you want to walk that back now that you know my backstory?
No, I don't. I actually don't.
So that was just an imaginative threat.
No, you just need some serious help. It's a simple conversation of people who really are struggling in life and they can't square their own brain around the reality of what we're dealing with here. If you can't answer the question definitively that you would give up your firearms in a hypothetical, when we know the epidemic of gun violence and the number 1 cause of death for children in our country, she has been conditioned. She has been conditioned. She's been conditioned to think that there's something bad's going to happen to her. I'm sorry about her personal experience. Doesn't change the fact. Doesn't change the fact. No, Karen, I'm not traumatizing her. She traumatized herself. She traumatized herself. RAINN.org if you are a victim or survivor. You can also call 988 for the helpline. There are numerous examples. She traumatized herself. That wasn't on me. I'm not blaming her. Again, I don't speak for members of my community. I speak for myself. If you want to attempt to use the epidemic of gun violence, I respect the fact that everybody's individual experiences of their own, but she traumatized herself. I didn't traumatize her. I don't know what to say. Silent K, how are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me on. I'm doing well.
You got it. What's on your mind?
Well, I just had a couple of questions. So the first one, You mentioned as part. First off, before we go any further, I'm just going to address the hypothetical in the room. Assuming all the conditions of the hypothetical hold true, then yes, absolutely, I'd give up my guns. And this is coming as somebody who is on the left, who also does own firearms, and raised around them, that kind of thing. If it would ensure my kid's safety forever and for always, yeah, without a doubt.
Yep, same.
So
wouldn't even hesitate.
Yeah. So setting the stage on that, one of the things you had mentioned as part of the common sense gun reforms was the requirement for gun owners to get insurance. Now, what would that look like?
Insurance, you mean?
Yeah. And how would that impact, the corollary question to that is, how would that impact the Second Amendment rights? I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Well, again, well regulated. So we already regulate firearms. So that would be no difference. It wouldn't violate someone's right. It would just be going through another process of the well regulation, right? Because well regulated means well regulated.
Yeah. I think that if I don't have a copy of my Constitution right now, but I think the wording in the amendment.
Well-regulated militia necessary for the defense of a free state. The right of the citizens to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. I know it by heart.
Yep.
So
exactly.
So it's well-regulated, right? So it's well-regulated, right? That's a portion of it. So we already regulate it. And by the way, your gun rights are not given to you by the federal government. They're given to you by the states. We know that because states have different laws as far as what the regulations are. So a potential, like we may be too far gone where we may have to start. I mean, I would like to, we may have to start doing something about limiting or buybacks. I don't know. We may be too far gone, but I look for common sense gun solutions. I believe in universal background checks, all 50 states, red flag laws, all 50 states. I believe in registration and insurance. I believe we should be reducing magazine capacity. And I would go so far as to bring back the assault weapons ban because it worked.
Okay. I'm just curious, where was the assault weapons ban actually put into place? Because I don't recall that being applied unilaterally.
Federal. The 90s. Okay. Yeah, and it worked. And we saw, what did we see? We saw mass unaliving events precipitously decline. And what happened after it was repealed? Went back up again.
They went back up again, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it worked.
So the second question I have, and this is more related to the current political climate. Just to prefix this a little bit, I live next to a city that is currently being targeted by the federal government, targeted by the National Guard as well as some of the as well as the Army. What would you recommend for citizens who are looking to potentially defend themselves against a wanton federal government that's growing beyond its power? In other words, violating the Constitution like what we're seeing today.
Okay, well, let's define that. Sure. Right? So is it open to interpretation as to what's considered tyrannical?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
What is it open? Is it open to an individual's interpretation as to what's considered tyrannical? Let me give you an example. We heard for 4 years that by Joe Biden, the head of the executive branch, mandating either vaccines and or masks for federal employees. We were told for years that was tyrannical.
Yeah.
Do you agree that was tyrannical?
No, that was not tyrannical.
Okay, so that's my point.
Let me frame tyranny a little bit better. When I think of tyranny, I think of a government that is no longer obeying the mandates of the Constitution. In other words, they're not actually working within the bounds of the Constitution. They're not enforcing the laws that are on the books. They're using executive overreach in order to, in a sense, go for a power grab. And when they start to stack up the courts, kind of like the run up to what we're seeing right now. That's what I would use as the best example for tyranny.
Okay. So then, is your question then, how should the citizenry react?
Yes.
How would that work for you? Say, for example, the citizenry took up arms against the United States military. How do you think that's going to go?
It's going to go poorly.
Right. So then, what would be the reason?
So my question is, what options do we have besides that?
Well, if that's the go-to option for people, then we're too far gone to ever come back from that.
Okay. Yeah, I accept that.
It's ultimately treason at the end of the day. It's ultimately treason.
Ultimately, yes.
Yep. And we have the Constitution addresses that, which is why people who think that the Second Amendment was created so that we can rise up against the government. That's just not true at all. Not even close to true. In fact, it contradicts everything that the Constitution stands for. So the solution, because democracy requires people of integrity. Democracies only work if people are going to function within it, abide by the laws, abide by the rules mandated. Right now, what we see is an actual tyrant in the White House, not abiding by the laws, not abiding by what the courts say. So the question then becomes, how do we as the citizenry come back from it? Again, we're not going to stand up against the U.S. military. I will say this, though, as a positive point. Donald Trump does not have the military. Just because he's a commander-in-chief, don't forget, the U.S. Universal Code of Military Justice requires members of the military to disobey an illegal order. And I'm not saying we're going to get to that point yet, but people think that just because he's a commander-in-chief that he has every single person. And that's just not true. It's just not true.
I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because that's one thing I think a lot of people do forget. I forget that myself, honestly. So yeah, and I do appreciate you bringing up the point of how toxic masculinity has contributed towards this environment that we find ourselves in today. I don't have any evidence to support this, unfortunately, but I feel like a lot of what we're seeing today is as a consequence of the proliferation of toxic masculinity. I mean, I look towards other nations, especially the whole bravado of, well, I have 150 guns and blah blah blah. And, you know, I look towards other nations. They don't have the need to carry a whole ton of firearms because they have a level mind, and I just wish there was some way to bring that sort of mindset into the United States and adapt it to our ethos, such as it is.
Well, it's because our country doesn't prioritize those things. Our country prioritizes capitalism, billionaires, and profit.
Well, I mean, the country as a whole might, or the people in power might. I certainly don't.
Well, again, but the people in power are the ones that are setting these laws, rules, mandates, tax breaks for the richer so they can get richer, diminishing the middle class, suppressing speech, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I'm talking about.
So do you feel then if we were to somehow undo some of that establishment, if we were to bring power back to the people, like what the founding fathers originally intended? I mean, if you were to look at if you were to look at a particular narrow interpretation of their views, would you say that would help to bring the country back to a more reasonable point to where we could have common sense gun legislation?
I think that's a two-part question. It has to start with money in politics. I think the overturning of Citizens United has to happen. I think we need massive court reform. I think we have to have massive court reform. I think we need to have an earnest conversation about term limits in particular. I think it has to start there. The money and influence over our politicians has way too much power. The firearm debate, by the way, is a 70-30 issue. The majority of Americans believe what I believe. The majority of Americans, Republican, Independent, Democrat, progressive, conservative, radical, doesn't matter. The overwhelming majority of Americans believe what I believe. Universal background checks, red flag laws, raise the age to purchase. I would even go so far as to raise the age to purchase, unless you're in the military, safe storage laws, insurance registrations. That's what people believe. Because, though, the NRA is so heavily invested in Republicans, we can't get movement. So that has to change. I don't think if you were ever a lobbyist, you can ever serve in government, and you cannot become a lobbyist after you've served in government. Start there.
That's actually a great idea. Honestly, I really hope that hits a tape somewhere and gets spread far and wide. So thanks for bringing that point.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, that's pretty much all the comments I had. But thanks for your time.
You got it. Have a good day.
You too.
Gaz, how are you today?
Good. How about you, Steve?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
This was just kind of in response to Tara's point. Typically, incidents like that are more likely to happen with the people you know. And
of course they are.
It's data shows having a firearm makes situations like that not only more common, but more dangerous. Mm-hmm. An example of this would be what happened to my sister. She was also an SA victim, And the reason that it was able to happen, because my sister, she's very well able to defend herself. But because the piece of shit that did it had a gun, she was not able to do anything about it. So typically speaking, having a weapon, it makes these situations a lot more dangerous and a lot more likely to happen because they feel more confident to do so.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why when you see places.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, go for it. Go ahead, guys.
And firearms, it just shows that people are less likely to attempt to do crime with firearms. Like, there's a reason that everywhere else in the world is lower.
You're right. So they talk about IPV, intimate partner violence, which is a major source of DV in people who people know. And I was trying to get Tara to go there, that the likeliness of something like she described happening is more likely to be someone that she knows. So exactly. But, yeah, it's just, I hope she seeks help. She really obviously needs to unpack a lot of shit there, but you can't deny the fact that there's this. I just don't feel. I stand by what I said. I think parents in particular who are not willing to do whatever's necessary, even hypothetically, to give up to protect their kids, I have no respect for at all.
But that's what I wanted to say too. She's not willing to engage in the hypothetical of giving up her weapons to protect her kid because it doesn't ensure their safety in the future, but neither does jumping in front of a bus or giving up your heart.
Correct.
So, again, it's that, so for whatever reason, for whatever reason, the weapons is like you said, the bridge too far.
Correct. It's pretty disturbing.
Yeah.
Thanks for jumping in today, Cass. I appreciate you very much. You got it. See you later. Not my name. I saw your note about Cash App. I think so. I just don't know if your username is the same. If it was $21, then yes. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Those conversations impact me because I'm an empath. I feel horrible about what's happened to her, but I didn't traumatize her. The conversation that we had was the same conversation I would have with anyone. I didn't demand that she come to the live. I didn't demand that she have a conversation with me. I didn't demand that she brought up what she brought up. That was on her. So if people felt like I traumatized her, okay, I can own that. We have these conversations in this space every single day. Those conversations impact me, not just because of what happened to her, but because of the circumstance and why we can't find common ground on protecting kids. Period. Every single liberal that I have asked, everyone, and I know as many liberals who own firearms, yours truly included, as anybody else, every single time I've asked them, if you could guarantee, not even their kids, if you could guarantee that you could prevent the next school shooting from happening or the next kid to lose their life in school, would you give up your firearms? And before I could even finish the sentence, they always say yes. Always. It's not even close. And when I ask conservatives, more often than not, they say no. Why is that? Why is that? Why? Tara, please seek help. I hope you can find some therapy. I really do. I really do. And I hope your help comes in terms of just thinking about things differently. And ask yourself some really hard questions of what it is that you're defending, and more importantly, what it is that you're afraid of. That's a big one. It's just weird to me, but that's just me. Green Girl, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm all right. Thanks for asking.
Right.
What's on your mind?
This is just in regards to the commentary with Tara as well. And I mean, I was pretty harsh too until the crash out, but I'm studying for an addictions studies degree or certification counseling degree. One of the biggest things I'm noticing, and it's happening a lot in lives, it's happening a lot even in my classes, but people are not in therapy dealing with their stuff. They're not getting help or treatment, and then you have crash outs like this that happen, and it's so counter, like my heart breaks for her. I hope she gets help. I hope she gets therapy for not only the sake of her children and everything, but for the sake of herself as well. But it's like, if you are struggling with something, there are so many modalities to get help. Please look into getting therapy, look into support groups, and if the first therapist you work with isn't the right fit, keep trying. There is somebody out there for you to work with. But our country right now, because of so many cuts to mental health programs, it is so dangerous. And I see so much of this happening with people going into these rages and this chaos, and like their brains are just all over the place because they haven't dealt with their trauma, or they're not even in the process of working through their trauma. And I think that's why we're seeing so much violence, whether gun or otherwise, and so much division in this country that's allowed to have happen. Because if anybody with a brain was looking at this, it's pretty self-evident what's going on with the state of our country and its politics right now. But there's so many people who have trauma they just have not dealt with. And there's still, I think, so much of a stigma around it too with mental health. And again, the rhetoric by this administration isn't helping. So, if you find yourself struggling, if there's like even one little red flag that comes up, there's even groups out there and therapy groups out there that are self-funded, and there is support. Please reach out and get some help.
I absolutely agree. Men in particular, I'm a big advocate for mental health services for men. Please do that. Please do that.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to say that I see it happen all the time. I sat in a class. It was the first class we had for this particular subject matter, and I had like 5 people in the class just trauma dumping in the beginning just for introductions, and I'm just going, oh my God, you're studying to help people, but you're not even helping yourself. And it breaks my heart, and I'm trying not to be cruel about it, but if there's even a question, talk to somebody. It's worth it. Trust me.
even if things are going well.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody.
If just the tiniest thing comes up, like pay attention and work on yourselves, because the world is just chaos right now, and there's so many people that are not okay. And I'm trying to have more compassion. Sometimes I'm like, I don't, and sometimes I will, like I did with Tara. I was saying some not so nice things in the chat, but it's just it's so frustrating. I really hope that people start taking some accountability, because I think that's what's lacking so much right now is accountability. Like you were talking to the gentleman earlier about the guns, and it's like there's no accountability taken at all.
It's just, and it's flippant. It's the attitude is flippant about it. Like it's like a matter of fact. Yeah, I'm not giving up my guns. Yeah,
and let's be clear, it's not for protection. It's just because he likes guns. He doesn't give a shit about protection, because what is he going to do? Just start, come on. It's not for protection. You like shooting guns, period. It's a preference. It's a luxury. Yep. It's not worth our kids' lives.
Agreed. Yep.
All right, cool. Agreed. I will let you get at it. Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
Thanks, Green Girl. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. It's a tough conversation. I will process this as I do, but it's emblematic of the problem that we have. Emblematic of the problem that we have. That there is this, people have been who whether their circumstances are real or not, and I have no reason to doubt what Tara went through, being very, very real, and I'm sorry that it happened, without question, the empath in me. It doesn't change the fact, though, that we have a prioritization in our country that is ideologically split. the party that claims to care so much about safety and children and protecting them at all costs, when asked simply to change your vote, because the people that you're voting for do not advocate for protecting kids. They don't want to feed kids. They don't want to house kids. They don't want to clothe kids. They don't want kids to have health care. And kids are losing their lives. Number one cause of death being firearms. That's where I go. Like, square that for me. You can't sit there and say that you care about all these things, and then you're asked a simple question, right? A simple question. Say, listen, hypothetically speaking, because we are now in a situation where children are experiencing multiple either actual active shooter drills or active shooter experiences, multiple ones. So to think that it can't happen in your neighborhood is just wrong. You're more likely to have that happen than the scenario that our previous guest had discussed. Because we know the situation of somebody being snatched is likely to be done by a family member or somebody that you know. So that's the reality. That's what we see. And again, crimes against children overwhelmingly happens by people on the right. And it's not even close. Every single day, we learn more of some hypocrite, some Christian preacher, politician, church leader, community, youth advisor committing crimes against kids. We see it all the time, every single day. Cannot lie about the data. You can't. And then my concern, especially based on all the trauma that she experienced, we know who she voted for. So square that. That's the struggle that I have often. Like, how the fuck do we square that then? How do we square it? Please seek help, Tara. Please seek help. Please see a therapist. Please. If you want to join our Discord, you can. We've got resources available to people. We know how to connect the dots. We know how to get people in touch with people. There's a lot there to unpack. We want you to find some peace. We want you to find some peace. But ask yourself some hard questions. What is it that you're prioritizing? Because the conversation should be simple. Because we can't control what happens to us when we walk outside the door of our house. We can't. Can't. Tara, we've tried to help you. Okay? You created that scenario. If you don't want to participate, then you don't have to. Then you can leave. It's really up to you. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I've got time for one more. Good morning, Emily. How are you today?
I'm doing okay. I just wanted to point out the fact, Steve, that especially with Tara and me, I'm 5'2" as well. I would not feel as protected if I had a firearm or a weapon, because I know that the likelihood that it would be used against me, taken away from me forcefully and used against me, is statistically higher than if I had a weapon and was able to use it.
I was trying to go there in that conversation, Emily. Exactly right. Just like the scenario that people say we should be arming teachers. What does that do? It just put more guns. It just puts more guns in the classroom. That's all it does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's just all. That's what I wanted to say. But I watch you every day.
I appreciate you.
I'm in your Discord. I love you and your mods. You're great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love all
I appreciate you very much.
All right.
Thanks a lot for saying that. I appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe out there.
You too.
Okay. I think we'll wrap there. Listen, we are a broken nation. We are cracked. We are damaged. We've got all kinds of things that we have to fix. And, we don't prioritize the things that we should. And it's been a long time since we've done that. And people are just going to get more and more angry. People are going to try to find, quite frankly, excuses to justify the beliefs that they have because they've been told something, or they believe something, or they've allowed themselves to be manipulated and lied to, because we see that a lot. And that's my concern is that. I want people to seek help. I'm an advocate. I'm an advocate for therapy, always have been. I'm an advocate for mental health reform, which is why I'll never vote Republicans, because they just don't care. Conservatives do not care about people. Conservatives do not care about their constituents. Conservatives do not care about health and safety. They do not care about law and order. They don't. They care about their proximity to power. They care about access to corporate donors. They care about APAC money. They care about funding from the NRA. They care about their seat at the table. That's it. That's it. So we're going to go raid. Let's go raid Monica. Tell her that we said hello. Monica. Everybody go over there and just, have yourselves a good day. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Be back.